Chapter 460, Silver Stone Fort. Chapter 460, Silver Stone Fort. Not New Lang, I got it from the ice-cold flame. There's something I need in the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. I want to go and see. You can't. All of a sudden, Yangjua paled while shaking his head constantly. Absolutely shouldn't do that. The antiquity lofty dragon graveyard's the restricted area on the seabed. Throughout thousands of years, no warrior of the sea tribes has ever come out alive from there. In the legends, there are treasures that the lofty dragons had collected in that forbidden area. It has attracted numerous hotshots from the sea tribes, but I have never heard of anyone who could actually find them. As far as I've known, all had buried their bodies all together in the dragon's tomb. Is that a strange place? I think that New Lang wanted to harm you when he told you about the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. Yangjua wore a serious face and said with a low tone, in short, you should never go there. Let alone your Sky Realm cultivation base, even the God Realm warriors couldn't escape alive. New Lang has the cultivation base at Third Sky of Spirit Realm, but he doesn't dare to peep in the place. Shi Yan's complexion changed. Why do you want to go there? There's something essential to me. I want to go there. Don't go, and don't you ever mention this again. Yangjua continuously shook his head to refuse. Seemed like he was absolutely terrified of that lofty dragon's forbidden area. As Shi Yan saw his determination, he didn't repeat the matter, but shifted the topic and asked whether he had arranged everything or not. Yangjua hid something in this matter too. He told Shi Yan that several days after he had arranged things in Barren City, he would leave the city together with Shi Yan. Shi Yan nodded and didn't say anything further. Then, he left the Yang family's house alone. Afterward, he came to the tavern in the city. The shopkeeper and the waiter greeted him with friendly faces. They served him food and good wine even before he could have time to order. You're really awesome, the waiter said with admiration. After he left, the Yang family sent someone to collect the fee. I told them what you said to us. Indeed, they didn't argue with us and said that they would no longer come here for collecting the tax. The waiter had his eyes brightened as he said with low tone, Are you really Shi Yan, the one who killed Ming Hai and got the approval from the water scorpion tribe, Bao Wan and Bao Ku? Yeah. The young waiter's eyes got brighter. His face was getting more excited. From now on, when you want a drink, come to us. Haha. I think the shopkeeper won't take your money. Right, sir? Little brother. We didn't recognize MT Taishan. We didn't know that you are Shi Yan. If we offended you, please forgive us, smiled the shopkeeper. You are being too polite, Shi Yan smiled, shook his head then said, Shopkeeper, you're doing business in Barren City. I guess you're familiar with the situation here, right? I have something I want to ask you. May I? Little brother, you shouldn't be too polite. The smile on the shopkeeper's face widened. He slightly bent his body and said, You can ask for sure. As long as we know it, we will tell you all together. We won't hide any small details either. Have you ever heard about the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard? The shopkeeper changed his visage to a more surprised one. He raked his eyes to his side. After he could confirm that no one was there, he asked hurriedly, Why do you ask this? As Shi Yan saw the other change his attitude, he felt this could work immediately and said, I'm interested in some rumors on the seabed. I've just come here, and I want to know more about the seabed situations and gain more knowledge. That's why I asked you. If you know and you aren't afraid, please do tell. The shopkeeper relaxed his complexion when he knew the other was just curious. The antiquity lofty dragon graveyard is the mysterious forbidden place in the seabed. Thousands of years have passed, and so many strong warriors undersea want the lofty dragon's treasure. They went and probed over the years. Unfortunately, as far as I've known, no one came back alive. Seems there's something really intimidating, which killed everyone who dared to go in. The information he provided wasn't much different from Yangjua's, as they had just mentioned how terrifying that antiquity lofty dragon graveyard was and how many famous warriors of the sea tribes had died there. They all said that the place wasn't a place that warriors should visit. Since that area was protected by God, anyone who entered would be punished by God. Do you know where it is exactly? Shi Yan went around the bush, then came back to his main purpose. People said that it's under the vault of Heaven Sea area, but I'm not sure about the exact location. Only someone who has gone there could know. But they're all dead. The shopkeeper shook his head and sighed. The lofty dragons were the overlord of all kinds of beasts undersea. Of course, their graveyard won't be ordinary. It should have unimaginable dangers. No visitors can escape death. Oh! Shi Yan nodded and mused for a while, then said, "After I leave, in 2 more days, please come to the Yang family and tell them I'm going to the Vault of Heaven to find some stuff. Tell the master of the Yangs in Barren City, Yangjua. Are you going to the Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard?" The shopkeeper and the young waiter were flurried all of a sudden. Haha, help me deliver the message. Don't ask too much. Shi Yan smiled, left a crystal, and then turned into a beam of light shooting towards the Vault of Heaven Sea area. "Boss!" The young waiter was worried and said hurriedly, "If he goes to the Lofty Dragon's forbidden area, he can't come back alive. I think we shouldn't wait longer. We should tell the master of the Yangs now." "Yes, I'm going to the Yang families." The shopkeeper was in a hurry, too. He answered the young waiter, then left. 15 minutes later, Yang was face darkened. He continuously shook his head and muttered, "Why did he not listen to my advice? Why is he so stubborn?" Young men who don't listen to old men would suffer a huge loss. "Shi Yan, you kiddo, do you think that you can be lucky forever?" 7 days later, Shi Yan arrived at a sea area under the Vault of Heaven Sea area. The seawater there was crystal clear blue. Fish were moving in schools, and beasts could be seen here and there. At first, he had just met low-level beasts at level 3 or 4. The closer he got to the Vault of Heaven Sea area, the higher the level of the beasts was. Searching this sea area for a while, he still hadn't found the lofty dragon graveyard. But he ended up having some conflicts with some daring beasts. Beasts at level 6 and 7 weren't his match now. Facing Shi Yan, their only consequences were to be skinned and their demon crystals be taken. After spending several days under the Vault of Heaven Sea area, he still had nothing. Without the exact direction, it seemed not easy at all to find the Antiquity Lofty Dragon's graveyard. Today, he saw a giant fort built with silver stone. Many members of the sea tribes were working and living in there. His eyes brightened. He wanted to enter the city. Walking around the fort for a while, he found out that the sea tribes members inside the fort were mostly from the Silver Shark clan. Shi Yan stopped a member of the Jade Clam tribe outside the fort. Among the tribes of the sea tribes, the Jade Clam tribe was one of the weakest. Members of the Jade Clam tribe had a giant shell on their back, just like the turtles. Their fleshy body was in between the shells. People said that their cultivating process was arduous. None of the Jade Clam tribe's member had ever reached the spirit realm. This Jade Clam's member was a young female. She looked pretty with red lips and white teeth. After she was blocked by Shi Yan, she didn't fluster, just frowned at him coldly and said, "Human, why do you come to the Silver Stone Fort? Don't you know that the Silver Stone Fort's the Silver Shark clan's territory? You damn human, that you're planning to mess up with our sea tribes. I'm telling you, Yin Hui, the patriarch of the Silver Shark clan, is in the Silver Stone Fort now. Death is a certain consequence if you dare to provoke us here." Silver Stone Fort, frowned Shi Yan. He had heard from Li Feng that the Silver Shark clan's territory had been divided into some parts. The Silver Stone Fort was just one of them. It was the place where an elder of the Silver Shark clan cultivated. Many weak tribes were living around the Silver Stone Fort, and the Jade Clam tribe was one of them. Those tribes didn't have warriors strong enough to protect the tribes. Their life was a little bit difficult, so they had to depend on stronger tribes like the Silver Shark clan. Every year, they had to offer the Silver Shark clan massive wealth to receive the protection from the stronger tribe. That was how they could survive on the seabed. Yin Hui is staying in the Silver Shark Fort. Scared now. The female member of the Jade Clam tribe sneered, then said, arrogantly, "You'd better get out of here as soon as possible. The seabed isn't a place where human warriors could poke your nose in. Harumph, Silverstone Fort is Crew's cultivating place. He's the elder of the Silver Shark clan, and he has just entered the spirit realm. Patriarch Yin Hui came here to congratulate him. Many strong warriors of the sea tribes are gathering in the Silver Stone Fort, too. If you dare to provoke us, I'm sure you'll see enough. This member of the Jade Clam tribe had a shallow cultivation base, but her tone was cold and arrogant. She was using the connection with the Silver Shark clan to intimidate Shi Yan, so she didn't fear. Shi Yan burst out laughing, but he didn't quarrel with her. He contemplated, then said, "Me too, I'm going to cheer for Elder Crew. Shall we go together? I don't walk the same road as humans." The female member of the Jade Clam tribe rolled her eyes, threw him a malicious look, put on the serious face and crossed him, swimming towards the Silver Stone Fort. Shi Yan shook his head and smilingly followed her. "Human, stop." He hadn't even approached the Silver Stone Fort gate when a member of the Silver Shark clan shouted, pointing his weapon at him. He seemed to ready fight Shi Yan at any minute if the other didn't follow his words. "I've told you. Humans like you can't enter the Silver Stone Fort." The Jade Clam tribe's member mocked him, then chinned up, entering the Silver Stone Fort. Chapter 461. The Sea Races Banquet. Chapter 461. The Sea Races Banquet. Human, get back to where you came from. We, people of the Silver Stone Fort, do not welcome mankind. A member of the Silver Shark clan snorted coldly with a displeased face at the gate of the Silver Stone Fort. People of the Silver Shark clan had a shark fin on their back. This was the signature of the Silver Shark clan. Besides this fin, they didn't look much different from humans. People said that the Silver Shark clan had been evolved from sharks. That's how they had the fin, the signature of their kind. Among the other clans in the ocean, the Silver Shark clan was almost as strong as the Black Flood Dragon race, one of the strongest races in the sea. Silver Shark's people were born with a sense of superiority. Unless they were facing the Black Flood Dragon clan, they were always haughty in front of the members from other sea tribes. This little guard wasn't an exception when he was talking arrogantly to Shi Yan. Shi Yan came here this time to find Yin Hui to ask for something related to the ancient lofty dragon's graveyard. As the Silver Shark clan was situated in this area, being the patriarch of the race, Yin Hui must know the exact location of that ancient lofty dragon's graveyard. Compared to searching alone with no clues, it had better ask someone who might know. "I come from Barren City, a member of the Yang family. I heard that Precursor Crew has entered the spirit realm, so I came here to congratulate him. Please report." "Oh yeah, your patriarch Yin Hui and I have met once. I hope that you guys would give me a chance to praise Precursor Crew." Shi Yan held a smile on his face, handing out a small purse, which kept 10 pieces of good profound chi crystal. A female member of the Jade Clam race couldn't hold her despising look seeing him bribe the guard. It's true that humans are all cunning indeed. The guard of the Silver Shark clan estimated the value of the purse and then changed his manner to be friendlier. However, he still had to keep his face. "Human, are you lying to me? Even if you're a member of the Yang family, you're not eligible to meet my patriarch. However, as you know the situation, I'll let you in." Then, he stepped aside to give way for Shi Yan to enter the city. It seemed that profound chi crystals could be the pass to anywhere. This guy from the Silver Shark clan received Shi Yan's bribe, couldn't help but fall into the same track and open the convenient door for him. "Villain." As Shi Yan just passed through the gate, the female member of the Jade Clam race cursed, "Humans are all cunning. You didn't embarrass your kind. You're truly a villain." Shi Yan ignored her, raised his eyebrows and passed her over to get into the Silver Stone Fort. Members of the rare sea tribes like the Whelks, the Mere People, the Saber Teeth, all were living inside the Silver Stone Fort. Many members of the sea tribes had low cultivation bases, such as Nascent, Human, and Disaster Realm. They were gathering freely at a corner in the Silver Stone Fort to talk about the significant issues in the ocean or the secrets of their own races. Shi Yan suddenly burst out laughing. After listening attentively for a while, he found out that the focus of their talks was him. These sea tribes members were gathering and talking about the event of Barren City and mentioning his name. When people of the sea tribes talked about him, their faces were stiff, as they knew there was a new ferocious slaughterer born among mankind. He was a brutal guy who liked to kill the Sea Tribe's members, and that he had stirred up the human race and killed many members of the Sea Tribes. Those Sea Tribe's members talked about him like a wicked beyond redemption, utterly unbearable villain. After a while, Shi Yan forced a smile, shook his head and sighed. Members of the Sea Tribes didn't have a good impression of the human race naturally, just like the way they treated the Yang family. They would favor their members, and it was totally natural. Although the reputation of the Water Scorpion tribe wasn't good, it was a member of the Sea Tribes. As Shi Yan had hurt Bao Wen and subdued Bao Ke, in their eyes, Shi Yan was already their enemy. No matter what the truth was, they considered the Water Scorpion tribe the victim. He couldn't change the attitude of the Sea Tribes toward him. Discrimination would never be changed, even if it were in the Endless Sea, the underworld, or the demon area. Even if they wanted to change, it wouldn't happen. No warrior could utilize only his strength alone to convert the awareness of other races. Uniting all the races to one and living in peace in the same place was impossible. Shaking his head, Shi Yan didn't think about it furthermore. After walking one round in the Silver Stone Fort, he knew where Crew was, in the south of the Silver Stone Fort. Inside a spacious place around 100 acres in area were situated many oval silver stone buildings. Those buildings had strange shapes, which had been decorated with drawings of the sea monsters. When Shi Yan came to that place, he took in the scene and suddenly shook his body, changing his appearance as a fin jutted out from his back. When he had entered the Silver Stone Fort, if he still used the human appearance, it would be hard for him to get in Crew's place. Only if he had the appearance of the Silver Shark Clan's members could he mingle with the others and get the chance to visit Crew. After his petrification martial spirit had reached the peak, his control over his body had also entered a subtle, mysterious realm. He only needed a flicker of a thought, and he could conveniently change his body, turning into another person's shape. Growing only a fin on the back wasn't a tough job to him. After he had transformed into the appearance of the Silver Shark Clan's members, there was no strange look gazing on him along the way. Members of the weaker races like the Jade Clams, the Whelks, and the Mare People also showed respect to him. When he approached Crew's house, the Silver Shark Guard only threw him a look, and when he found that Shi Yan had the Sky Realm cultivation base, he didn't say anything and just let him go. Shi Yan walked to the roomy court where Crew was holding his party. It was a lively scene of celebrating peace with songs and dance. Female members of the Jade Clams and the Whelk tribe were shaking their bodies, dancing on the stage made of coral. The Jade Clams and the Whelk tribes had average powers among the Sea Tribes, but their women were really good at dancing, as their moves were charming enough to shake people's mind. On that luxurious stage, 10 women from the Jade Clams and the Whelks were smiling, dancing like silk. Scattered around the stage were crystal tables. Those crystal tables had all the colors one could name. They were translucent and shimmering with a dreamy light. The best warriors from the Sea Tribes were sitting at the crystal tables, drinking good wine and enjoying the fine cuisine of the ocean. They also amused themselves with the performance on the stage while chatting with the others. The atmosphere was boisterous. Right at the middle, in front of all of them stood a giant crystal table with an old silver shark man seated. His face was reddened because of the wine he took. He was talking and laughing with emotion as he was continually poured wine to a middle-aged silver shark man sitting next to him. That middle-aged man also had a shark fin on his back. Although he was sitting in his seat, an oppressing aura like a big mountain was spreading. The patriarch of the Silver Shark Clan, Yin Hui. At first glance, Shi Yan knew right away that man was Yin Hui. The old silver shark man with a long beard was the host of the party today, Crew. A young maiden was sitting next to him. Perhaps she was his daughter. She was also smiling and offering fine wine to Yin Hui. Yin Hui didn't deny her, just smiled and drank. Sometimes, he gave the girl compliment as she was a beauty that would become the dazzling pearl of the Silver Shark Clan. There were 10 crystal tables behind the table of Crew and Yin Hui. Seated there were the hotshots of the Sea Tribes. There were members of the Black Flood Dragon Clan, the Naga tribe, and the Water Scorpion tribe. The lowest cultivation base those people had was the Nirvana realm. Most of them were at the Sky realm. All were drinking too much and delivering their compliments to Crew and Inhui. The atmosphere was warm and harmonious. Shi Yan stood behind the stage, far away from the center of the feast. He frowned, looking at Inhui as he was considering what kind of excuse he could use to approach Inhui and ask for the ancient lofty dragon graveyard. All of a sudden, a familiar aura got to him from behind Inhui and Crew, making his pupils shrink. Looking more attentively, he found 6 people wearing veils and covering all their bodies standing behind Inhui and Crew. Apparently, the aura from 2 among them was really familiar to him. Xiao Jilan. Panja. Shi Yan was terrified. When he was in the demonic sound clan, he had planted a soul seed inside Xiao Jilan and Panja's souls. Although he had soon lifted the barrier, he was still familiar with their souls. In a certain range, he would be able to detect their existence and recognize them. The man and the woman wearing the veil there were absolutely Xiao Jilan and Panja. The most outstanding young leader of the Qiao family and the Penlai Holy Land's future successor, the 2 prominent youths of the Endless Sea appeared at the territory of the Silver Shark clan and in Crew's house. What was going on? Shi Yan's face darkened as suspicions filled his heart. While he was coldly looking at Xiao Jilan and Panja, he changed his appearance in silence. After a while, his cheeks were much thinner as his sockets became deeper. That made him look more ferocious and malicious. Both Xiao Jilan and Panja had known him. If those 2 saw him, they could know his identity right away. For the moment, he didn't want to expose himself. He wanted to hide and observe what Panja and Xiao Jilan were up to. Hey! As Inhui was talking with Crew, he suddenly shouted, shifting his look towards him as sharp as lightning. Inhui's look suddenly became colder, looking at him from a distance. He was wearing a cold smile but still waving at Shi Yan. Shi Yan discolored. I didn't expect that we will have a friend from far away. Haha, you're considerate indeed. Inhui smiled as his eyes were as bright as a torch, crossing through the hotshots of the sea tribes to gaze at him. Inhui had seen through his disguise. Chapter 462. Shi Yan from the Yang family. Chapter 462. Shi Yan from the Yang family. Shi Yan suddenly felt embarrassed. He and Inhui had just met once. Moreover, the distance between them was too far away. He thought that, even when they had a chance to meet up again, Inhui wouldn't recognize him. Thus, he decided to visit Crew's banquet deliberately. Unexpectedly, Inhui was excellent as he was able to recognize him with just a glance from such a distance. As Inhui voiced up, warriors of the sea tribes had their eyes gaze Shi Yan with great surprise. Even the hotshots from human race Xiao Jilan and Pan Ji were looking at him after Inhui's recognition. However, Xiao Jilan and Panja didn't have a strong cultivation base like Inhui, and Shi Yan had disguised himself, so those 2 people couldn't recognize Shi Yan's real identity. Crew was surprised for a while before he said with a low tone, Patriarch, is this young man a great warrior of our Silver Shark clan? Why doesn't he look familiar at all? He's not one of us, Inhui smiled coldly then said, I do hope that our Silver Shark clan could have an outstanding young warrior like him. Too bad, the Silver Shark clan doesn't have that luck. Having heard Inhui say so, the hotshots from the sea tribes were more shocked. They eyed Shi Yan with strange faces. Come sit here. Inhui ignored the others' suspicions. He didn't reveal Shi Yan's identity right away as he beamed a smile while looking at the group of Xiao Jilan standing behind him. As if he thought this case was interesting, he couldn't help but wave at Shi Yan. As he got exposed, Shi Yan didn't continue to hide. Besides, he wasn't afraid of Inhui. Thus, he deliberately walked over, entering the center of the stage and clasped his fist, talking to Crew. Congratulations for entering the spirit realm. You're one step closer to the Great Way. Crew didn't understand the situation, so he just furrowed, nodded, and said, Thank you. We met half a month ago at Barren City. We were far away at that time, so I didn't have the chance to chat with you. Inhui curled his lips to form a smile, nodded to Crew then continued, He's our guest from far away. Make a seat for him. This little brother is so outstanding that he could make the bow when brothers bow to him. He deserves our respect. Yin Hui succinctly pointed out his real identity. The warriors from the sea tribes couldn't help but exclaim out loud. Shi Yan from the Yang family. The silver shark mild-mannered maiden sitting next to Crew cheered softly as her beautiful eyes brightened up. Standing behind Yin Hui, Chao Jilan and Pan Ji, who were wearing the bamboo hat with a long veil, were shaking in shock. It's him. Chao Jilan gritted her teeth. At this moment, she felt the 5 flavors were all flooding her heart. The last time they met was at the Sun Island of the Three Gods sect in the Yuanluo Sea. After she knew that the pagans Etian Mo and Di Shan had turned to the demon dwellers and cut off the relation with Shi Yan, she determinedly gave Shi Yan up. Now, when she looked back, she thought her decision at that time was so wrong. Not long after Shi Yan had left the island, he had raised waves in the endless sea, fought against Mo Chi Ta, Qing Ming, the Queen of Heaven and the Emperor of Earth. He also caused a significant trauma for the Corpse God sect, as he had made the King Corpse revive his consciousness. This series of his deeds had shaken all the strong warriors of the Endless Sea. She thought that Shi Yan would barely be able to struggle, but in fact, he had used his deeds to make all the warriors of the Endless Sea remember his name. Shi Yan had disappeared for 1 year. Anyway, whenever the leaders of the forces in Endless Sea mentioned his name, they all wore a serious face, as if his name were a taboo matter. Chao Jilan knew that she had made a wrong assumption that underestimated Shi Yan's profound potential. Too bad, it was too late. Under her suggestion, the Chao family had joined the game to chase and kill Shi Yan, which meant they had cut off the relationship with him. Due to this one mistake, she had lost the close relationship with Shi Yan forever. At the moment, as they saw Shi Yan, who had gone missing for a year, Chao Jilan suddenly felt her heart was constantly moved, as the image in her mind had flooded her heart once again. The face under the bamboo hat was filled with remorse. Chao Jilan bowed and sighed begrudgingly. The Endless Sea was vast, but she had only met one man who could touch her heart. This man had used his domineering power and mysteriously left a bold brushstroke in her soul. However, due to the complexity of the situation, she had chosen to be on the opposite side of his. This was hard to recover. Chao Jilan shook her head as her eyes revealed her sorrow. She beamed a self-ridiculing smile. Under Yin Hui's reminder, all the warriors of the sea tribes present at the banquet held an amazed countenance. They all gazed at Shi Yan, who was standing unyieldingly. During this period, the name Shi Yan was the most resounding name in the ocean. He was the one who used a sky realm cultivation base to defeat Bao Ku and Bao Wen, who received both Yin Hui's and Li Sha's praises. He was such a legend. Even if they were living undersea, members of the sea tribes were also interested in strong warriors. From the misfortune at Barren City to Shi Yan stopping the furious wave, all kinds of rumors had been spread out on the ocean floor. All warriors of the sea tribes knew that the Yang family had a tough character. That kid's potential was even more dangerous than Yang Tian emperors that year. As of now, they could see the hotshot in the rumor, and strong warriors from the sea tribes were all showing their interests. Crew's eyes brightened up as he suddenly laughed and pitched his voice. Come, bring up a table with fine wine and food. Some guards of the Silver Shark clan immediately received the order. Not long after that, they presented a table with good wine and good food. Shi Yan clasped his fist to thank him, then sat down at his table. He was wearing a cold face without any sign of anxiety. He picked up his glass, took some sips, and said heroically, "Good wine." The beautiful maiden of the Silver Shark clan sitting next to Crew had her eyes sparkling. As she seemed to be interested in the man, she giggled. Rumors say that you look extraordinarily ferocious, as if you want to swallow up our sea tribe's members. But I think you look normal. Shi Yan beamed a wry smile. Under the watchful eyes, he started to transform. Within just 3 seconds, the fin on his back disappeared, and his face had recovered to its original form. The beautiful eyes of the maiden brightened up as she chuckled. Is that your real appearance? Shi Yan nodded. A lot better now. The young girl smiled, holding her glass. My name's Hai Luo. Thanks for coming to celebrate with my father. Shi Yan drank up his glass, smiled, and said, Hai Luo, the beautiful pearl of the sea. Truly worthy of the name. Hai Luo smiled, and it made her eyes as narrow as a line. She wiped off the wine on her lips and said, "You know how to say sweet words." Chao Zhilan, standing behind, suddenly felt irritated. She couldn't help but hum quietly. "Jealous," Panja said with a low tone. "Previously, you had a close relationship with Shi Yan. I used to think that with your charm, you could subdue him under your dress. How could it turn to this? So, now you feel regret when you see him flirting with others. Even if I made a wrong decision, I will not regret it." Chao Zhilan clenched her teeth and snorted coldly. "You shouldn't be wordy. Think about how to deal with this sudden situation. There's no solution. Even if Shi Yan didn't come here, the Silver Shark clan wouldn't still cooperate with us." Pan just shook his head. "People from the sea tribes are discreetly watching the situation up there, waiting for us to engage in the war. I don't think they will form a relationship with us. As long as the benefit's big enough, nothing's impossible." Another young man smiled behind the veil of his bamboo hat. "What a pity that Nu Lang didn't come here. If not, we just need to talk to him." As long as Nu Lang nods his head, the Water Scorpion tribe, the Naga tribe, and the Silver Shark clan will agree with his opinions. Nu Lang has never talked to humans. In the recent years, there's only Yang Tian Emperor who has come to the Black Flood Dragon clan to talk to him once. We shouldn't lay hopes on this person. Unless our seniors come here directly, he won't meet any guests. Chao Zhilan couldn't help but sigh. As they were whispering to each other on the other side, Shi Yan was drinking with the hotshots of the sea tribes. He drank one glass with each of them, including Crew and Yin Hui. It looked like he didn't know that this was a celebration of the Silver Shark clan, and he was rather a guest that somewhat overwhelmed the host. He was feasting with other people, drinking happily with the members of the sea tribes. Chao Zhilan was a guest, but she could only stand aside and watch, as she wasn't eligible to join the banquet. Chao Zhilan and Panja felt really annoyed seeing Shi Yan seem to have a good relationship with the Silver Shark clan. "Oh, right." Yin Hui took a glass of wine, then acted as if he suddenly remembered his guests. He patted his head, then turned around, smiled, and said, "Seems we still have some guests here." Crew also looked around. "Perhaps you guys have known each other." Yin Hui's smile hid something behind as he suddenly said, "Bring up another table. Friends, please come forward. Please take off your bamboo hats. Don't worry, although our sea tribes don't get along well with your human race, as you come here with goodwill, of course, we will treat you well." Chao Zhilan's group was like they are riding a tiger, and it was now hard to get off. "Let's go. It's only Shi Yan. We don't need to be afraid of him." The young man standing next to Chao Zhilan and Panja had taken off his bamboo hat, revealing a handsome face. He was Zhongli Dun of the Martial Spirit Palace. The #1 warrior of the combat list, Zhongli Dun was walking forward from the spot of Chao Zhilan and Panja with a natural expression. Panja and Chao Zhilan were hesitant for a while before following him. Yin Hui's smile became more radiant. He extended his arm to introduce them. "These are the young hotshot of the Chao family, the Martial Spirit Palace, and the Penglai Holy Land. Yeah, the three behind them are the consecrators Wu Yufeng of the Chao family, Situ Jie from the Martial Spirit Palace, and Sanglan from Penglai Holy Land. They are all famous in the Endless Sea. I guess you guys know each other well." Zhou Yufeng and Situ Jie from the Martial Spirit Palace were the kind of people with deep thoughts and wild schemes. They were standing behind Chao Zhilan and Zhongli Dun, frowning at Shi Yan. Shi Yan couldn't help but shrink his pupils. Those were the two first Sky of Spirit Realm warriors. Chapter 463, Safely Free. Chapter 463, Safely Free. After the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame had merged with his host's soul, he was able to detect the real realm of the others on seeing them. God Realm warriors were no exception, as even they couldn't avoid his sensing. Zhou Yufeng and Situ Jie were covered in the bamboo hat with a veil. This made the others focus on Chao Zhilan and Panja. Anyway, no one was too attentive. Currently, those two had taken off their hats and revealed their appearance. When they came in Shi Yan's line of sight, he knew their real realms at once. Zhou Yufeng and Situ Jia looked quite thin with dark faces, which gave people the impression that their schemes were really heavy. Especially Situ Jia, and Shi Yan didn't know when he saw this man, yet he felt familiar as if he had met him before. But then, he recognized that he had never contacted this person before and had no impression of his face. Trung Lan from Penglai Holy Land had the cultivation base of Third Sky of Sky Realm. Shi Yan didn't even consider this person. From this point, the Chao family and the Martial Spirit Palace were one level stronger than Penglai Holy Land. This time, the Chao family and the Martial Spirit Palace had sent Spirit Realm warriors, but the Penglai Holy Land had just a Sky Realm warrior. Obviously, they were lower than the Chao family and the Martial Spirit Palace. Shi Yan also knew that the three strongest forces of the Endless Sea were the Chaos, the Yangs, and the Martial Spirit Palace, and they didn't have only one Spirit Realm warrior. The Yang family was the same. He had heard from Yangjua that besides Yang Tian Emperor, the Yangs had two other Spirit Realm warriors. However, only Yang Qingdi knew where they were. Yangjua guessed that the two Spirit Realm warriors of the Yang family were still in the fourth demon area. Situ Jia looked at him with a cold, dark face, then gave him a fiendish grin. Shi Yan's eyebrows slammed together, as he felt this guy was somehow familiar, and he had sensed his aura from somewhere before. But at this moment, he couldn't figure it out. As you are all the warriors from the Endless Sea, I suppose you've known each other, right? Do you want me to introduce a little bit here? Yin Hui smiled, shifted his look between them, and continued coldly, people that come here from the other places are our guests. If you guys have any resentment, you shouldn't resolve it within the Silver Stone Fort. I don't care if you deal with each other outside the Silver Stone Fort. You should solve your human race's matters somewhere else. Hotshots from the sea tribes burst out laughing as they heard that. Yin Hui knew the situation that happened above the water surface. He seemed to know that the other forces from everywhere didn't get along well with the Yang family. Now, he had called for Chao Zhilan's group, and Shi Yan understood his purpose. Yin Hui regretted that he couldn't make the two sides battle against each other. It'd be better if one of them lost. Hope you are well. Shi Yan sneered inside, but his face was still calm. He nodded to Chao Zhilan and Panja. Long time no see. Chao Zhilan curled her lips with a cold face. Yeah, long time no see. You're undersea. No wonder why people up there have to search for you with great efforts. It's my bad I've made you guys worried, Shi Yan said. Unfortunately, you've put forth many things, but I've survived well. As long as I'm alive, we will have chances to solve this grudge in the future. Something flared up in Chao Zhilan's beautiful eyes as she nodded deliberately. Panja also felt embarrassed. He forced a smile to Shi Yan and clasped his hands. We've met again. Seeing you are still alive, I think many people feel worried. Sigh. Honestly, I don't want to be your enemy. Too bad it's the situation, and I have no choice. Shi Yan was dazed and didn't understand his attitude. No matter what happened, you saved me in the chasm battlefield. Although your deeds were despicable when you confined our souls, we got out of there alive. Panja sighed. I can't control the situation of the Endless Sea. Here's my advice for you. Leave. Otherwise, you won't have a day living in peace. Shi Yan frowned, but he didn't say anything. The Sea Tribe's warriors, Yin Hui and crew, kept a smiling face, watching them without saying anything. It was just like they were watching a play, waiting for the two sides to start the war. Zhongli Dun of the Martial Spirit Palace wore an arrogant face. You are that Shi Yan? With the difficult situation of your Yang family, do you still think that you can borrow the force from the Sea Tribes to do something up there? Do you think it's possible? Zhongli Dun always looked down on Shi Yan. Before Shi Yan had arrived at the Endless Sea, he had been the top warrior on the combat list, and everybody from every force admired him. However, after Shi Yan got back from the chasm battlefield, he had subdued Mangu, showing his tremendous cultivation base, and that he had also hurt Mo Chi Ta severely. So many rumors about Shi Yan were spread out. Anyone who knew Shi Yan's stories considered him a new generation hero that no one could deny. He would oppress all the young ages of the Endless Sea, including the one who had topped the combat list, Zhongli Dun. Shi Yan appeared across the sky and had covered his presence, as the other had become the peerless young warrior that many people from the endless sea had to recognize. This man even had the competence to provoke the previous generations. This was a hard hit to Zhongli Dun. At this moment, as he was meeting Shi Yan undersea, Zhongli Dun's attitude couldn't be better. Although the Yang family doesn't appear in the endless sea, they do live well, and the competence of the family is well preserved. Of course, Shi Yan wouldn't give him face. He sneered. Well, we aren't like some other forces. First, they would take the chance to collaborate with every force they could reach. Well, they thought they could satisfy their long-cherished wishes, but the demon dwellers and the dark dwellers had spanked their butts. Their power is draining, and the dark dwellers and the demon dwellers are torturing them every day. A brutal look shot out from Zhongli Dun's eyes. He coldly looked at Shi Yan and said, "Nonsense. The demon dwellers in the demon area had eradicated the Yang family. You really think that people would believe in your lies?" Shi Yan burst out laughing. He shook his head, wore a disdainful look on his face, but didn't regard the other. "Forgive me for speaking frankly," Zhongli Dun clasped his hands, looking at Yin Hui. "If you guys cooperate with the Yang family, I think the human race will not approve it. It could be said that the Yang family is the common enemy of the whole endless sea. They aren't on the same side with the demon dwellers and the dark dwellers either. Once you choose to collaborate with the Yangs, you'll face a formidable pressure you have never had. Our sea tribes only love the beauty of the ocean. We don't like killing." Yin Hui laughed. "Today is the banquet of crew. If you guys want a drink, we'll welcome you. But if you want to discuss things we aren't interested in, please cut it off. Come. Let's toast." Yin Hui didn't want to expose his real purpose. No matter it was the Chaos, the martial spirit palace, or the Yangs, he pretended that he wasn't interested in anyone. Having heard Yin Hui say that, Zhongli Dun and Chao Jilan were disappointed. However, they didn't continue the talk, as they wanted to wait until the party finished. They would find Yin Hui to talk him into this. As Shi Yan didn't come here to create the relationship with the Silver Shark clan, he didn't bother with Yin Hui's words, just relaxed and drank. He looked breezily, as if he didn't want to discuss any important matter. This man's free and easy. Hai Luo chuckled, then picked up her jade glass, walking over to Shi Yan like a beautiful siren. "I can see you don't really want to work with the Silver Shark clan. I also heard that the Yang family doesn't live well on land. What do you want?" "I don't want anything. I'm okay with my life now." Shi Yan smiled, not intending to discuss any business with Hai Luo, as he was drinking and chatting about some interesting rumors in the endless sea. Hai Luo had heard a lot about Shi Yan. With her curiosity about his personality, she stayed close to him and asked him many questions. Shi Yan then talked about the dark magnetic noxious mist, the powers of the earth and firmament, the beasts, the exotic land of the place, and the floating island and mountain. Hai Luo was amazed. She asked more questions as her curiosity was growing. The two were talking with low tone. Shi Yan did it on purpose so the other Sea Tribes members surrounding them couldn't hear the content of his story. Chao Jilan pouted her lips while wearing a bitter face. As she was watching Hai Luo and Shi Yan, her beautiful eyes flared up with jealousy. She felt annoyed seeing Shi Yan and Hai Luo close to each other. Yin Hui's look was faint. Sometimes he shifted to Shi Yan just like he was watching over something silently. This was a big feast, and most of the Sea Tribes members had grown their interest in Shi Yan. Sometimes, some hotshots of the Sea Tribes would come over and have a toast with him. In the recent years, the Yang family had helped the Sea Tribes. If the strong warriors from the Sea Tribes had any good feeling towards the humans, it would be only for the members of the Yang family. Previously, Shi Yan had performed his invincible power in the barren city, which raised the curiosity among the Sea Tribes members. Moreover, he was one of the Yangs. That's why the Sea Tribes members would proactively come and offer him drinks. No one cared about Chao Jilan, Panja, and Zhongli Dun. Although these three people represented the influential forces in the Endless Sea, the Sea Tribes members didn't give them any face by drinking with them. Chao Jilan's group was as if they were sitting on pins and needles. They suddenly felt that they somehow were inharmonious with the rest of the people enjoying the banquet. Many members of the sea tribes acted like they didn't see this group of people. Quite on the contrary, Shi Yan's table was bustling with noise and excitement. Not only the beauties, but also the hotshots from the sea tribes came there. The party was finally coming to an end, but no member of the sea tribes visited Chao Zilan's table. The banquet ended. 6 people of Chao Zilan's group stood up, looking at Yin Hui with expectation. They seemed to want to say something but still hesitated. Yin Hui smiled, waving his hand. Come here. The faces of Chao Zilan's group brightened. They hurried to go with Yin Hui to a secret chamber behind the stage to discuss something important. Shi Yan, hang in there. We'll talk later. Yin Hui regarded him, smiled, then led the group of 6 to another place. The 6 people of Chao Zilan and Pan's group followed Yin Hui. However, after half an hour, they all came out of the place. They were frowning, not looking happy at all. It seemed they didn't have a good discussion with Yin Hui. After the 6 of them had gotten out of the place, they regarded Shi Yan coldly and left Crew's house. They seemed to leave the Silver Stone Castle, too. Yin Hui called out for Shi Yan, who then finally got up. A guard of the Silver Shark clan led him to another secret chamber. Only Yin Hui was in the room. Do you know what they asked us? Yin Hui smiled, but it didn't look like a smile. No, I don't. Shi Yan shook his head and gave the other a cold answer. I don't care either. It's related to your Yang family a bit. Yin Hui proactively explained. They're willing to give up the Kiara Sea. As long as our sea tribes agree to deal with the Dark Dwellers, the Kiara Sea will belong to us. Haha. Seems like the Dark Dwellers and the Demon Dwellers have subdued people of the Endless Sea quite badly. It's been many years, and the human race hasn't had a good relationship with our sea tribes. They don't even want us to come up to the surface. This time will become a precedence. They're even prepared to give us the Kiara Sea. Don't you think it's interesting? Shi Yan's face was stiff. The Kiara Sea used to belong to the Yang family. After the Yangs had left that sea area, the Demon Dwellers had taken over the area and then handed over to the Dark Dwellers. It could be said that the area had undergone strenuous events with bleeding wounds. Unexpectedly, the Chaos, the Martial Spirit Palace, and the Penglai Holy Land came here this time to offer the Yang family's territory to the Sea tribes. Basically, they didn't care about the Yang family. Seems like their situation is not really optimistic. Shi Yan frowned, snorted, and said, Nevertheless, Kiara Sea belongs to the Yangs, even if it's controlled by the Dark Dwellers now. In the future, we, the Yang family, will take it back. Whoever claims the Kiara Sea will become the Yang family's enemy. As I heard from the Black Flood Dragon clan, you wanted the Yangs to cooperate with the Sea tribes? Yin Hui said with a solemn face. I had that thought, but it would be impossible with Precursor Nu Lang's attitude. Shi Yan didn't want to conceal. What your Sea tribes want is not to join the battle. You're waiting for the war to come to the most brutal point in which both sides have to be wounded. And then, you will take over the Endless Sea, the Demon Area, and the Underworld at once. This is your true great plan. Yin Hui's eyes suddenly brightened. Since you just want to sit there and watch the fight, no matter how much that group of 6 tries to persuade you, it's useless. I don't have to worry at all. Shi Yan smiled. Precursor Nu Lang's a man who embraces ambitions. As the opportunity that happens once in 1,000 years is in front of your eyes, nobody will believe that you won't take the chance. So why did you come here? Yin Hui contemplated for a while before frowning and asking him. Seems like you are not here to persuade me, right? Of course not, Shi Yan shook his head. I want to ask for the location of the Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard. You're the patriarch of the Silver Shark clan, so you should know where it is, right? You want the treasure of the Lofty Dragon? Yin Hui sneered all of a sudden. Over thousands of years, countless strong warriors from amongst us have intruded that place, but no one could get out alive. Even Nu Lang doesn't dare to get in because he couldn't be sure. You brat really think that using external forces to defeat Bao Wen is enough for you to enter the Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard? If you know the place, just tell me. You don't need to care about the other stuff. Shi Yan didn't put his ridicule in mind. Even if there's no one to show me the way, it's just a matter of time before I find out that dragon graveyard. Don't you agree? If you want to die, I don't care. Hui mused for a while, then threw him a crystal. This crystal can show you the way to the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. Just follow the crystal's guidance, and you can get to that forbidden area at the bottom of the sea. Anyway, I don't think you can get out of here alive. Oh! Those 6 people are waiting for you outside the silver stone fort perhaps. I don't know if you can escape their hands. Even if you can leave this place safely, it's your dead end entering the forbidden area of the antiquity lofty dragon. As an appreciation to the Yang family's attitude toward our sea tribes throughout many years, I'll give you a piece of advice. Stay away from that graveyard. It's not the place you human can dig for benefits. Thanks in advance. Shi Yan ignored Hui's advice, clasped his hands to greet, then left Crew's house. Patriarch. Crew regarded his leader after Shi Yan had left. I denied the offer from those 6 people, said Hui coldly. Crew nodded. I know Patriarch will not appreciate the small benefit. I heard that Shi Yan had visited the Black Flood Dragon clan. Then, Precursor Nu Lang declared that the Black Flood Dragon clan would not interfere with the Yang's business in the Barren City. Everything stays the same. So, does Shi Yan have, with Precursor Nu Lang? Do you think it's possible? Laughed Hui. Crew was dazed, but then he also smiled. Impossible. I also feel confused. Why does this brat want to visit the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard? It's the forbidden area of the seabed. Thousands of years have passed by, but no one ever came out of there alive. Even I just dare to stay outside. I have never actually entered the center of the tomb. Hui frowned. That kid isn't stupid. It's obvious that he knows how dangerous that place is, but he still wants to get in there. Why? Is he confident that he can get out of there alive? How could it be? Crew let out a light sigh and shook his head continuously. Even Precursor Nu Lang, who has already entered the 3rd sky of Spirit Realm, doesn't dare to enter the place. He's just a junior at the Sky Realm. What skills does he have? I overheard from his talk to Hai Luo that he has visited the dark magnetic noxious mist. It's also a mystery, and we can't measure it. He has survived that place. Does it mean he has something special? Did he just boast it? I doubt that. Hui shook his head. He confirmed that he did visit the dark magnetic noxious mist. We have no doubt about this point. The dark magnetic noxious mist is really mysterious, and we don't know what it's like if we haven't been there. He's able to get out from there, which means he should have something great. This kid isn't an ordinary young man. He has the power of a warrior at the spirit realm when he's just at the sky realm. We can't consider him with common sense. So, what do you mean? I will go to the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard to see if he does enter that place. I do want to know whether or not this brat was just boasting about himself. Well, we don't know if he could survive the other 6 people waiting for him out there. They can't challenge him. Anyway, even Bao Ku and Bao Wen have to be afraid of him. I think if this could put forth all of his abilities, he could escape from that group of 6. Yeah, I think it shouldn't be a problem. This man is more excellent than Yang Tian Emperor that year. We should treat him with care. It would be better. Such good ideas from our patriarch. Chapter 464. Look, you are not strong enough. Chapter 464. Look, you are not strong enough. Outside the Silver Stone Fort, the group of 6, including Chao Zhilan, Zhou Yufeng, Zhongli Dun, and Situ Jie were waiting in silence. 2 Spirit Realm hotshots, 2 Sky Realm warriors, plus the outstanding talents whose cultivation base was a little bit lower, Chao Zhilan and Panja. This powerful group could silence many warriors in the Endless Sea and make them not dare to go against their wishes. Although they were waiting for Shi Yan, this group of 6 didn't look relaxed at all, wearing a serious face like they were going to encounter their archenemy. The name Shi Yan had soon been spread through the Endless Sea. His brutal fight against Mo Chi Ta, Qingming, the Queen of Heaven and the Emperor of Earth, and all the other types of experience made those people recognize that even if Shi Yan's realm weren't high, he was really dangerous. Without the assistance of Zhou Yufeng and Situ Jia, they wouldn't have the guts to stay there. We should be careful later on. Chao Zilan said with a low voice and a serious face. Seems like his realm's been increasing every day very fast. Last time when he was in the Endless Sea, he was at the Nirvana realm. But now, he's gone straight up to the Sky realm. At that time, he had caused a lot of trouble to Qingming and the other two. As he's at the Sky realm now, it should be really tough to deal with him. Don't worry, miss. Zhou Yufeng arched his eyebrows and smiled coldly. The Queen of Heaven and the Emperor of Earth are also in the Spirit Realm, but they only have the power of the Spirit Realm warriors when they fight together. Situji here and I have our powers from ascetic cultivation. We're different from the Queen of Heaven and the Emperor of Earth. If we join our force to attack him, even if that kid has some secret method to increase his ability, we still can make him die in the seabed. Situji smiled. When we were on the Sun Island, I had tried. Although that kid can borrow external force, it's hard to change his real realm. The soul in his sea of consciousness is estimated to be one level lower than ours. If we launch attacks in that aspect, we'll surely trouble him and not let him escape. Right, Zhongli Dun nodded. It's hard to change the sea of consciousness. If we use soul attacks and intrude his sea of consciousness instantly, he absolutely won't be able to bear it. If we can attack fast enough, I think he wouldn't have time to borrow external force. We can then break his sea of consciousness, and that will destroy his soul. His skills in using soul power aren't typical. We still need to be very careful. Pan just shook his head and forced a smile. That year when we were in the Chasm battlefield, he had learned many secret soul techniques from the demonic Sound clan. His understanding towards the soul aspect is much more profound than that of normal people. Sigh, I was a victim. His knowledge and soul power is really mysterious. You shouldn't be careless. The 6 of us are waiting for him here. I think he doesn't dare to get out of the Silver Stone Fort. Zhongli Dun sneered. If he isn't an idiot, he'll stay inside the Silver Stone Fort. As we have to give the Silver Shark Clan face, we won't touch him. I believe he won't go out. Not sure. Chao Zilan's beautiful eyes twinkled as she let out a light sigh. This man has more guts than anyone else. I guess he will go out for sure. You guys have overestimated him, disdained Zhongli Dun. Here he comes. Situjia's eyes flared up with cold intent. He couldn't help but shout. He even comes from the main gate. This brat's extremely arrogant. Seems like he doesn't put us in his eyes. He knows we would wait for him here, but he still dares to come. Well, this person doesn't care about death or life. He isn't scared. Perhaps. Panja's face also looked odd. From the main gate of the Silverstone Fort came a young man strolling through the empty area. It looked like he didn't know that some persons were waiting for him. Behind him, some strong warriors of the sea tribes were watching the situation there. Everyone knew there would be a great fight. Even the 2 spirit realm of the Silver Shark Clan, Yin Hui and crew, were standing on a high building in the fort, watching in that general direction. Hai Luo was standing next to crew, listening to her precursor's discussion. Her beautiful eyes were twinkling like shiny pearls, and her succulent lips were moving emotionally. Members of the sea tribes were observing them both publicly and privately from a distance. This kid's haughty. Crew shook his head and frowned. This is the first time I've met such an extremely arrogant fellow. We will have a good show to watch for sure. If he can breezily go out, I think he'll have his part in the future of the Endless Sea. Yin Hui appraised with a serious face. The future of this young fellow can't be foreseen. If he has enough time, he will be like Cao Qiudao, Yang Tian Emperor or Yang Yi Tian. Perhaps he will be even more excellent than those people. Patriarch. I didn't think that you've estimated him that highly. Crew was surprised. According to the information I have, when Yang Tian Emperor was at his age, he had only the cultivation base at Earth Realm. Even when Yang Tian Emperor was at his Sky Realm, I don't think he could be that arrogant under the attentive watch of 2 Spirit Realm warriors. Yin Hui's face was solemn. Wait and see. If he can get out of here safely, the future era will belong to him. Crew's and Hai Luo's eyes suddenly brightened. It's my bad I let you wait for so long. Outside the Silver Stone Fort, Shi Yan smiled then sighed. Unfortunately, you just wasted your time. If you want to deal with me, I think you should let Cao Qiudao and Yang Yi Tian do it themselves. Zhou Yanfeng and Situ Jie aren't enough. This boy talks big. Zhou Yufeng snorted and gave a cold smile. What kind of calculation you've done? You're just a sky realm warrior. Do you think that's enough to ask our masters to play with you? Today, I'll show you that the real situation of the Endless Sea isn't what you've seen. Even if you have infinite potential, you can't do much. Eh? Shi Yan wore a mocking face, shook his head, and said coldly, I'm waiting to see what you can do to me. The three strange energies of the ice-cold flame, the Holy Spirit God, and the earth flame had mixed together in the profound chi vortex, creating a torrential power as strong as a river. A chain of bloodthirsty thoughts couldn't help rising up in his heart. Milky fog emitted from the pores in his entire body, forming something like a thick cocoon covering his body completely. A brutal and evil aura, as cold as ice, silently permeated the area. The seawater around him was like it was forced to stay away from him by an invisible force. Come out! He called out to the blood vein ring, and a mysterious giant sword flew out. At the same time, the king of demon insects and the devouring gold silkworm also turned into two different beams of light and parked on his shoulders separately. They opened their small eyes wider to watch the group of Zhou Yufeng. As the people of the sea tribe sensed the evil power that burst out from Shi Yan, they had their faces changed in awe. In front of the main gate of the Silver Stone Fort, a young girl from the Jade Clam clan covered her mouth in shock, as her eyes were panic-stricken. Previously, she had taunted Shi Yan. She wasn't eligible to join Crew's banquet, so after the party was over, she found someone she knew at the gate on the way home. However, she didn't have time to think much as she suddenly found an earth-shaking energy burst out from Shi Yan. Under that formidable fluctuating energy, she found herself so small, feeling frustrated even with a single glance at Shi Yan. The difference between their realms was too vast. At this moment, she knew how subtle Shi Yan was. Such a dangerous hotshot, he just needed to use a finger to savage her. She recalled the time she had disrespected him and felt scared, silently retreating into the city, as she worried that Shi Yan would find her. His name isn't in vain. Inside the Silver Stone Fort, Crew's pupils shrank. He suddenly nodded with a surprised face. So, you know why I've appreciated him, right? In Hui smiled. Crew nodded. If this young man keeps growing up this way, he will be a peerless warrior in the Endless Sea. Sigh, I finally know why the Patriarch has valued him that much. Young Tian Emperor has good fortune as the Yang family can have such an outstanding fellow. Never underestimate the Yangs. Yin Hui's face became somber. Nu Lang used to say that in the Endless Sea, Yang Tian Emperor's the toughest. If you haven't seen him die with your own eyes, he will live forever. Our sea tribes are staying calm because we're afraid that Yang Tian Emperor will come back at some point. The Yangs are really extreme, exclaimed Crew. Don't give him the chance to prepare. Zhongli Dun suddenly shouted. Numerous soul consciousness strands spread out from Situ Jie's head like tentacles, directly aiming for Shi Yan's sea of consciousness. Zhou Yufeng didn't dare to hesitate and also condensed his soul consciousness into a silver beam that naked eye could observe, slashing down at Shi Yan from the sky. They could vaguely see a tiny electric current inside the silver beam. Soul consciousness substantializing. Moreover, there was the lightning power inside his soul consciousness. This was clearly a sophisticated soul technique. Zhou Yufeng's eyes were as bright as stars when his vitality, chi, and spirit became one. He had gathered and condensed numerous beams of soul consciousness, controlled an executing god electric spear that had the lightning power to destroy Shi Yan's soul within this attack. The 9 firmament lightning was the nemesis of all souls. Once the lightning power struck the sea of consciousness, touching the soul, even spirit realm warriors wouldn't be able to bear it. This executing god lightning spear was Zhou Yufeng's strongest killing skill. With this skill, he had been swaggering in the Endless Sea for many years. Even Chao Qiudao had once said to have gotten hurt by the executing god lightning spear. When the strike was struck out, strong warriors from the sea tribes in the Silver Stone Fort, who could use their soul consciousness to sense, had their faces discolored. Shi Yan was the target. All of a sudden, under the attentive eyes, he closed his eyes. Inside his sea of consciousness, the host's soul opened its third eye. The 9 serenities devouring soul flame released bizarre flames, spreading out in his sea of consciousness while Situ Jie's and Zhou Yufeng's soul strikes were attacking his sea of consciousness vehemently. Bunches of flames stormed over just like they could sense the smell of blood, burning off the soul energy that had just intruded Shi Yan's sea of consciousness. SSSSS. Under the burning flame of the 9 serenities devouring soul flame, the soul tentacles from Situ Jie and the executing god lightning spear of Zhou Yufeng had turned into nothingness. Situ Jie and Zhou Yufeng paled as blood gushed out from their mouth because their soul consciousness had been hurt severely. I told you. You're not strong enough. Shi Yan grinned and said, Situ Jie, I know who you are. Your soul had intruded our place in the Sun Island. I remembered it when you just released your soul consciousness. Haha. Good enough. It's time to take revenge. Chapter 465, Vicious Qi Overflows Firmament. Chapter 465, Vicious Qi Overflows Firmament. Shi Yan's real realm was at the sky realm, so certain flaws existed in his soul consciousness and soul. Without the assistance of the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame in his host's soul, facing the soul intrusion of a real spirit realm warrior, his sea of consciousness would explode, and his soul would collapse. However, the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame had made up for this inferiority. This eccentric firmament flame could devour any kind of soul energy. Soul energies which dared to enter his sea of consciousness had no chance to escape danger as long as they had touched the fire of the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame, all getting burned down. As he was sure about that, he dared to risk his life against spirit realm warriors, and he wasn't afraid of being soul attacked. Situ Jie and Zhou Yufeng had underestimated him. They didn't know that the dormant 9 serenities soul-devouring flame was staying in his host's soul. Thus, they had rushed to contact him and hurt their soul consciousness. The damage in the soul consciousness was severe to a warrior, as he couldn't recover it with only gathering qi from heaven and earth. Situ Jie and Zhou Yufeng sprayed out blood. They were looking at Shi Yan with pale faces, which were filled with fear and resentment. Inside the Silver Stone Fort, Yin Hui and crew from the Silver Stone Fort also changed their faces. They were looking at each other in a daze, as they could see the shock in the other's eyes. The soul attack that Situ Jie and Zhou Yufeng had released and the soul surging that they could feel was all clear. They asked themselves and realized that if they were Shi Yan, it would be tough for them to deal with these great soul techniques, no need to mention counterattack. But Shi Yan did that. A Sky Realm warrior could dissolve the killing soul techniques of 2 Spirit Realm warriors and also hurt their soul consciousness severely. This event made Yin Hui and crew confused if they had seen everything clear enough. When they looked at Shi Yan, their complexion became more serious. They didn't know what kind of heaven-shaking techniques he had. Go! When the 2 Spirit Realm warriors spat out blood, Shi Yan's face was still calm as he shouted. The king of demon insects and the devouring gold silkworm on his shoulders flew out, striking towards Situ Jie and Zhou Yufeng. When the king of demon insects took off, an incredibly evil surging energy started to ripple from it, rolling towards Situ Jie and Zhou Yufeng just like waves. The devouring gold silkworm was radiating gold beams. As a demonic beast of the metal class, it understood well how to use attacks to defend. After it had sucked the immortal blood, it seemed to have advanced in some aspect. It was now releasing the golden silk in the water, which were straight, small, and sharp as a needle that could penetrate all kind of imprisonments. When the king of demon insects and the devouring gold silkworm made their debut, Situ Jie's and Zhou Yufeng's countenances became more grimaced. At this moment, they came to know that Shi Yan had a level 8 king of demonic corpse-eating insects and a demonic beast of the metal class which could destroy even the hardest defenses, the devouring gold silkworm. The 2 of them suddenly recognized that besieging Shi Yan outside the Silver Stone Fort wasn't a rational decision. But it was impossible to stop halfway. Seeing the king of demonic insects and the devouring gold silkworm storm over, they could only gather their nerves to counter at all cost. As Situ Jie was the consecrator of the martial spirit palace, he had learned many bizarre soul techniques from Yang Etian. The soul attack of the king of demonic insects hadn't approached yet, when his pupils shrunk and a green light shot out from his eyes. Inside that green beam, people could vaguely see the illusion of green water and mountains, giving people a relaxed feeling. This was some sort of a soul technique that made people lose their fighting spirit and just want to sink in the beautiful and poetic scenes. The illusions inside the green light piled up in layers, showing many attractive sights. The soul aura from it made people feel like they were sunbathing and only want to stay in the scene forever. After the scene inside the green light spread out, the soul attack from the king of demonic insects halted and then scattered like a rain shower, unable to intrude Situ Jie's and Zhou Yufeng's souls. The calm soul consciousness was still spreading out, crossing the king of demonic insects and the devouring gold silkworm to reach Shi Yan. This time, Situ Jie had acted more carefully, as he didn't dare to let the soul technique be absorbed directly into Shi Yan's sea of consciousness. He just let this intent domain expand near Shi Yan. Although it couldn't maximize the power of the calm soul consciousness soul technique to the peak, it could prevent his attack from being burned down by the devouring soul flame. This intent domain calmed people down to the point that they really wanted to sleep. Even though the attack's power was reduced, it still drained Shi Yan's fighting spirit. The dreadful fighting spirit had been affected by this strange intent domain. Shi Yan suddenly calmed down, as if this battle wasn't exciting at all and he just wanted to quit. He immediately realized that his soul consciousness had been affected by Situ Jie's intent domain. The spirit realm warrior had learned the subtle principle of the earth and firmament. If Shi Yan didn't counter with care, he would have himself perished. Mysterious ice enthralls. He shouted in his mind and withdrew the ice chi of the ice-cold flame, guiding the biting cold chi to his brain. The relaxed mind of his got struck by this cold chi. He couldn't help but shiver, which immediately helped him recover his sound mind. The dreadful fighting spirit once lost had been condensed again. When his fighting spirit rose up again, the power he had condensed was directly poured into the mysterious giant sword. Blood-like red eyes opened one by one on the sword. Whenever a new eye opened, the brutal and ruthless murderous aura emitting from the sword was rising by another intense level. When 2/3 of the eyes on the sword had opened, Shi Yan entered the third sky of rampage. Previously, when he was in the mystical, exotic land, he had a fortunate chance to peek at the subtle features of the third sky of rampage. Once the negative forces had been absorbed into his flesh, tendons, bones, and meridians of his entire body, it would merge with his own powers. When all kind of negative energies affected the energy in his body, he would fall into the wild, bloodthirsty state. This realm and the bedevilment were the same. His eyes were red, and it seemed like he had lost his mind. A desire of destroying everything gradually churned up in his heart. The third sky of rampage. All kind of negative energies were urged, and as the negative tide rose immensely, a look shot out from his eyes could bring up the negative spirit. Each acupoint could burst out all of a sudden during his fight. In this peculiar realm, he only urged the simplest murderous desire. The power of his entire body would raise up massively under the urge of the desire at the bottom of his heart, and he wouldn't experience pain and tiredness. In just a short time, his power would soar up abruptly. A surging energy that could destroy both the earth and firmament burst out from Shi Yan as its center. The sea water around him was rolling like huge tsunami, forming a massive vortex. Such a formidable energy! Yin Hui had a shocked face and couldn't help but exclaim, as his eyes were dazzling with light. Crew was also astounded. He constantly shook his head. This kid does have the extreme qualification. This powerful aura can be compared with that of a third sky of spirit realm warrior. Hai Luo's charming eyes brightened. She balled her small hands into fists and threw them excitedly in the air. He's so cool. All the members of the sea tribes surrounding them paled. They instinctively retreated into the silver stone fort, keeping themselves as far from Shi Yan as possible. Chao Jilan wore a cold face. She wanted to take action, but a feeling of being helpless rose up from the bottom of her heart. That year, when they were in the chasm battlefield, although Shi Yan was dangerous, he had been far behind from who he was now. At that time, Chao Jilan had had her guts to fight with him. But now, looking at Shi Yan releasing the intimidating aura, she couldn't endure it. She only wanted to hide away and didn't dare to protest. In the third sky of Rampage, the earth-shaking surging energy was flowing out from his body. He stretched his arm, pointing at the mysterious giant sword. The sword then slashed down, turning into a red ribbon and bringing with it the destructive aura, directly attacking Situ Jie and Zhou Yufeng. A deadly destructive intent domain was released from the giant sword. Situ Jie and Zhou Yufeng were affected by that intent domain as an unexpected thought rose up in their mind. I'm dead. When this thought arose, Situ Jie's and Zhou Yufeng's aura were suppressed. When their imposing aura was subdued, they couldn't urge the power in their body. Under the attack of the mysterious giant sword and the attentive gaze of the king of demonic insects and the devouring gold silkworm, they had to struggle even more. Go! Zhou Yufeng wore a cold face as he shouted. His body constantly generating illusions, as his true body directly came to Chao Jilan, grabbed her then turned into a light, escaping to a distant place. Situ Jie didn't dare to linger. In just a blink of an eye, he came to Zhongli Dun, lifted the guy who was petrified, and fled away. Tsanglan of the Penglai Holy Land saw the two Spirit Realm warriors run away, so how could he dare to stay? Despite his wounded body, he urged the forbidden technique to flee away, bringing Panja with him. They disappeared within a short period. As the giant sword was slashing down and its targets were thousands of li away, it could only halt and withdraw the brutal energy with the blood scent permeating the area. Shi Yan was surprised, used his soul consciousness to sense, and then reluctantly shook his head. As Zhou Yufeng and Situ Jie were the Spirit Realm warriors, if they fled away, it would be hard to chase after them. He released his soul consciousness, but he couldn't sense their current locations. This proved that the direction they had gone was extremely far from him. He wasn't interested in chasing after them. If he maintained this current state, he had to consume the energies of the Holy Spirit God, the ice-cold flame, and the earth flame constantly. Anyway, Zhou Yufeng and Situ Jie were Spirit Realm warriors. If he pursued them, he would only waste the powers of the three living beings. This wasn't what he wanted to see. As they didn't stay to fight, Shi Yan couldn't do anything. Now he could only leave them there and do the accounting later. Awesome boy. Yin Hui laughed, then flew out from the silver stone fort. I've made up my mind. I'll guide you to the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard myself. Chapter 466, Second Sky of Sky Realm. Chapter 466, Second Sky of Sky Realm. Inside a coral reef, thousands of li away from the silver stone fort. The 6 people of Situ Jie's group were hiding in between the 5-colored coral light. Their faces were illuminated with colorful lights, looking quite odd. Situ Jie and Zhou Yufeng had joined the battle together, and that damaged their soul consciousness significantly. They didn't take any advantage from Shi Yan, but got hurt themselves and finally had to run away distressingly. This was a deeply depressing attack. Situ Jie and Zhou Yufeng had a grimaced countenance as a light was flickering in their eyes. Their moods were down, and they kept sighing. Chao Jilan had no color on her face. Her complexion darkened, and her sparkling eyes had lost their shiny shade. She looked quite dreary and helpless, just like the state of her mind now. She recognized that she couldn't understand Shi Yan completely. How many years had passed? Shi Yan, who was chased after and threatened in the chasm battlefield, had become such an intimidating character. This took just a short time that she didn't dare to accept. In the endless sea, she was also a genius. Under the nourishment of the Chao family, her cultivation speed was fast, as she had entered the third sky of Earth Realm even when she wasn't 30 years old yet. She would soon reach the Nirvana realm. Without Shi Yan as a reference, she would be happy and proud of her natural endowments. But today, when compared with Shi Yan, she found out that her progress wasn't even worth mentioning. When they had first met, she didn't put Shi Yan in her eyes. But now, it had just been a few years, and she had to look up to him. This sudden attack made her, the one who had boasted about herself as a talent, feel really small. Regret? Panja beamed a forced smile and reluctantly shook his head. Previously, I knew this man wasn't someone we should look down on. But I still disdained him. How long it has been. I find that I don't know him at all. Within this 1 year, I don't really know how he has cultivated. No one could have expected that he has tamed a level 8 demonic beast, and he also has such tremendous surging power. Panja let out a deep sigh. I've regretted it. But what is it for? As things have come to this, as we've done it wrong, we should follow the wrong way to the end. Chao Zilan couldn't deny her failure. Her pretty eyes had lost their spirit as she was speaking the bitter words. He won't spare us. Even though he won't take revenge now, he will come for us sooner or later. Soon, we will meet him in the endless sea. Sigh, the endless sea is chaotic enough. If he comes back, no one knows what it will look like in the future. We're not afraid of him if he doesn't have the demonic beasts. But that beast can subdue us, and it has some method to break our soul consciousness. Sigh, it's hard to deal with him. Zhou Yufeng also sighed. Why can this boy from the Yang family reach such imposing strength? Who can tell me what's happened? Only he knows. Situ Jie's face darkened. It seems we have to strengthen our forces if we want to deal with him. I think he's still somewhere undersea. We should call someone from the land to join us and kill him. We can try Wu Xian, Gu Xiao, and Dongfeng Ju. I think we can only choose that way, said Zhou Yufeng begrudgingly. Yeah, I will send the message and call for them. Situ Jie mused, then spoke up in a low tone. Certainly, Shi Yan would wander around this area. Wait until our assistance comes. We can then find him right away. With more people, we can absolutely kill him. If this kid is not eradicated, the endless sea will have no future. Even if it has a future, that future will belong to him. After he had said that, the group of Chao Zilan and Zhong Li Dun discolored. Don't think that I'm merely talking about a dangerous sensation. Situ Jie snorted coldly. I've seen him grow up with my own eyes. That year when he was on the Sun Island, he needed the guard from the demonic Sound clan and the Wings clan to run away under my soul consciousness suppression. How long it has been. Now, my soul consciousness couldn't attack him, and it even bit me back. If we give him more time, he can become the peerless character of the endless sea. At that time, it will be impossible to kill him. Yeah, we should absolutely not give him more time. Zhong Li Dun shouted with a cold face. Summon the hotshots and put this man to death. In front of the Silver Stone Fort. The patriarch of the Silver Shark clan, Yin Hui, laughed and flew towards Shi Yan from the Silver Stone Fort. Under the attentive looks of the warriors from the Sea tribes, Shi Yan deliberately withdrew his mysterious giant sword. His sense flickered as he suddenly found a strange fluctuation sent to him from the mysterious giant sword. The mysterious giant sword had just guided him to make him release the deadly intent domain. As they were sinking into it, the intent domain of death covered them, which helped the mysterious giant sword affect Situ Jie and Zhou Yufeng. Unexpectedly, these two spirit realm warriors had a disheartened psyche. Under the effects of the deadly intent domain, the two spirit realm warriors had to run away distressingly, and didn't dare to parry the mystical giant sword. Currently, when Shi Yan wanted to retrieve the giant sword, he realized that the destructive, deadly intent domain released by the sword was still there. It didn't fade away together with the two spirit realm warriors. But what surprised him was the vehement life intent domain after the deadly intent domain had risen. Only he could sense this bustling life intent domain behind the destructive, deadly intent domain he had released. The existence of this life intent domain seemed to enhance some sort of ability of the deadly intent domain. But he hadn't released the life intent domain. Did the giant sword do that? What was going on? Being dazed for a while, he couldn't help but open his mind and sink into the mystical giant sword, as he wanted to see the mysteries more clearly. After his soul consciousness jumped in, he found a shape that surprised him even more. Behind the life intent domain, there was the deadly aura, and behind this level, there existed another layer of life intent domain. The intent domains of death and life were blended inside the mysterious giant sword, just like a stair that had one step followed by another alternately. This uninterrupted sequence had created the strange reincarnation. Death, life, and reincarnation. Death or destruction appeared to prepare for the new life being born, the appearance of the new living being. Death and life couldn't be separated. A living being would have the fate of dying, and dying had the meaning of being reborn. As if it was to enlighten him with the wisdom, the truth that was related to death, life, and reincarnation appeared in his mind like lightning all of a sudden. His body was shaken, as he was stunned, and lightning was flashing in his eyes. Thoughts were interweaving at the speed of light in his mind, as he was acquiring the knowledge of the death and life intent domains. All of a sudden, the aura of life and death took turns and emitted from his body. This phenomenon looked oddly incomparable. Hui arrived, but as he was about to say something, he was stunned. The king of demon insects, the devouring gold silkworm, and even the mystical giant sword were aiming for him. They seemed to warn him against something. Looking at Shi Yan, Hui frowned as he was sensing. Then, Hui's face was brightened. He understood something. This is the flash of realization. Good kid. Hui complimented the young man in his heart. But when he looked at the king of demonic insects and the devouring gold silkworm staring at him like tigers watching their prey, he couldn't help but take some steps back. Crew also came out at this moment, standing behind him. He was also surprised, looking at Shi Yan. Patriarch, is he? Yes, he's comprehending some kind of intent domain. Just a fight, and he could perceive the truth of some power. This is really inconceivable. Hui confirmed his assumption and reminded him, don't come close to him. That king of demonic insects is not easy to play with. That sword seems to have its own consciousness as well. Don't come close. Crew's face changed and nodded to indicate that he understood the matter. You should go, but don't leave the Silver Stone Fort. Hui mused for a while, but he still couldn't ease his mind, shouting at the people of the sea tribes who were about to come there and check the situation. Having heard Hui's shout, they halted and observed from a far distance. How? Inquired Hai Luo with sweet and delicate voice. He's about to break through. The corner of Crew's mouth slightly moved, talking to her. A mighty man among the men. I have never seen a young man with this natural endowment. Hai Luo, you shouldn't maintain close relationships with him. This boy has a great charisma. I'm afraid you would fall in love with him. Well, I think I like him already. Hai Luo smiled shyly. He's much stronger than me and the other sea tribes members. Father, haven't you said that only a strong warrior could be my partner? I think he's able, isn't he? No joking, Crew shook his head. You should never involve with a man like that. Once you do, you will live in regret for the rest of your life. I think this kid will not be content with his lot. Our Silver Shark clan can't mess up with such a fellow. His future enemies wouldn't be ordinary, either. Hui nodded. If he survives the Endless Seas event, I'm sure the future of the Endless Sea will belong to him. Crew nodded in agreement. After an unknown period of time, Shi Yan awoke from his comprehension of death and life realm. Where water flowed, a canal would be formed. He didn't linger. After he had comprehended the truth, he had directly entered the second sky of Sky Realm. The death and life intent domains were like a strange nutrient that were absorbed into his sea of consciousness and left a seal on his host's soul. This made the host's soul and the sea of consciousness sublimate together, which inspired his whole body. The density and purity of his profound chi had soon reached the peak. With only one time of perceiving the truth, he could break through directly. This fight helped him recognize that the life intent domain and the death intent domain couldn't be separated. It also made him realize that death and life had a coexistence relationship and that one could not live without the other. With this new comprehension, he entered the new realm, the second sky of Sky Realm. After waking up, he sensed his body's situation, and he found that the profound Qi ancient tree had grown up even more. It now could continue to promote the profound Qi and gather stronger power. His mind flickered, and his body relaxed to detach the ice-cold flame, the Holy Spirit God, and the earth flame. He then retrieved the mysterious giant sword, the king of demonic insects, and the devouring gold silkworm. Then, he looked at Hui. You've said that you wanted to take me to the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. Yes, Hui smiled, then praised him. Congratulations. You've leaped up to another realm that fast. Kid, you're really out of the ordinary. I have to admit this. Haha, Shi Yan smiled. Let's go. I really want to visit the antiquity lofty dragon's tomb. If you want to take me there, let's go. No big deal. Chapter 467, Remaining Might. Chapter 467, Remaining Might. After a fight, Shi Yan had entered the second sky of Sky Realm directly. Through the fight with Situ Jia and Zhou Yufeng, his confidence was boosted, as he knew that the two Spirit Realm warriors couldn't kill him. Thus, when he went with Yin Hui, he wasn't afraid of the other anymore. Yin Hui could be a decent match at Shi Yan's level, which could bring him to another height. So, when he talked to Yin Hui, he didn't need to fret, and he could say anything he wanted without worrying that he would displease Yin Hui. The reason why he chose to carry out the battle in front of the Silver Stone Fort was to show his competence to all the members of the Sea tribes. This would make those people realize his real capacity that could help him counter any strong warriors from any races. He could even win. The Yang family was now different from the past, as their situation wasn't stable. He wanted to prove that he was strong enough to threaten the Sea tribes. He wanted to make them realize that even if Yang Tian Emperor weren't there, as long as Shi Yan still stayed there, the Yang family could always live in peace in the barren city. He wanted to make the people of the Sea tribes who were disloyal be content with their lot. He believed that the details of this fight would be spread out through the whole seabed. At that time, Yangjua in the barren city would know that he was going to the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard and that he could ease his mind. You don't need to take me there yourself. Walking in the water, Shi Yan glared at Yin Hui walking next to him. He frowned and said, "You're the patriarch of a clan. You must have many businesses to attend to. Why do you want to waste your time and come with me?" "I also want to check the situation at the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard," said Yin Hui. "Our Silver Shark clan is located in the sea area. I've been to that dragon's tomb, but I haven't had the guts to enter the area." Haha. It's hard to find someone who isn't afraid of death. Of course, I want to see what you can do there. Shi Yan was surprised. You've been there before? Didn't you say that no one could return alive? Yin Hui suddenly felt shamed. I said I was watching from a distance. I didn't dare to go inside the tomb. Kid, are you ridiculing me intentionally? No, Shi Yan smiled. So, how's that place? You're going there anyway. It's useless to answer that question. You'd better come and see yourself to have an accurate cognition. Yin Hui's face became serious. He hesitated for a while before speaking up again. Shi Yan, I think I should warn you. If possible, don't go there. The antiquity lofty dragon graveyard is protected by some force of our sea tribes. Even our hotshots couldn't return alive on entering that area, let alone you, kiddo. Yin Hui showed his sincere complexion. Fella, your cultivation base is exquisite. Apparently, later on, you'll be the number 1 or 2 hotshot of the endless sea. Why should you risk your life this time? If I didn't take risks, I wouldn't have broken through that fast. Shi Yan laughed. As you can enter the second sky of Spirit Realm, I'm sure you've undergone deadly situations as well. If we don't have the guts to not be afraid of death, how can we break through continuously? Forget it. It's all right if you don't want to take my advice. Yin Hui, of course, understood that his words weren't in vain. Every strong warrior would only perceive the realm comprehension through a deadly fight. Only if they were constantly near death would they recognize something they had never done in their typical life. Well, it's not sure that I would encounter dangers when I visit the ancient lofty dragon's tomb. Shi Yan laughed arrogantly. What? Tell me. Do you think I look like an idiot? No, you don't. Yeah, so you can be assured about that. You did go to the dark magnetic noxious mist, right? I know you've been there. From your description, if a man has never been there, he can't give such clear and detailed description. What is inside the dark magnetic noxious mist? As far as I've known, there are so many marvelous things in there. For instance, the life original fluid. Shi Yan's face discolored as he was amazed. A strange light flashed in his eyes. Seems you know something about the dark magnetic noxious mist. Not me. Some precursors in my clan know something about the dark magnetic noxious mist. Yin Hui contemplated, then spoke up again. Our Silver Shark clan lives under the vault of Heaven Sea area, and that dark magnetic noxious mist is in the east of the vault of Heaven Sea area. Yeah, among the sea tribes, our Silver Shark clan is nearest to that place. Some precursors of our clan had been there. Most of them got lost. Some of them returned but couldn't tell the details inside the area. Only one precursor had met a human being in there, and hence, he knew something marvelous related to that place, including the life original fluid. You know the effects of the life original fluid? Shi Yan was stunned. It gives the third sky of spirit realm warriors a great chance to enter the true God realm, reducing the possibility of failure and risks. Yin Hui's eyes were brightened as he yelled, I think any spirit realm warriors would never forget a special thing like the life original fluid once they hear about it. If he got this thing, I think Niu Lang would directly seclude himself to cultivate and try to break through the true God realm. Haha. Too bad this thing could be only directly seen and not be wished for. Niu Lang knows that, but he doesn't dare to keep dreaming. Shi Yan was moved. You've been in the dark magnetic noxious mist. Have you ever heard about this? Yin Hui's eyes were as bright as the torch as he grinned, then said, My precursor told us that the life original fluid's somehow related to a level 8 demonic beast. If I'm not wrong, that beast's a corpse-eating demonic insect, isn't it? Shi Yan's eyebrows slammed together. He finally knew the reason why Yin Hui wanted to take him to the ancient dragon's graveyard personally. The life original fluid. To warriors at the spirit realm, if they knew about the life original fluid, no one could press down their desire. The Silver Shark clan lived near the dark magnetic noxious mist. Many precursors of the Silver Shark clan had come there, so they must know about the life original fluid. Shi Yan had returned from the dark magnetic noxious mist, and he even had the king of demonic insects. When he connected the information, how could Yin Hui keep himself from overthinking? When I was in the dark magnetic noxious mist, I had heard about the life original fluid. However, the rumor I've known isn't related to the corpse-eating demonic insects. Shi Yan wore a calm face and said faintly, As far as I am concerned, my demonic insect doesn't know about the life original fluid. I think you're overthinking. Am I? Yin Hui grinned. His eyes were as bright as a flame, gazing at Shi Yan. Haha. Perhaps I'm overthinking. I thought you had the life original fluid. Yeah. If you do have the life original fluid, let alone me, even Niu Lang will be willing to do any kind of business with you. To Niu Lang, a drop of the life original fluid is more precious than a sea area in the endless sea. Shi Yan frowned, smiled, but didn't comment anything. If I can have a drop of the life original fluid, Yin Hui can also ignore the principles. Unfortunately, I don't have it. You shouldn't think about it much. Oh, that's too bad. Barren City. From the Sea Tribe's members, Yang Zhuo got to know about the big fight that happened at the Silver Stone Fort. Finally, he could confirm that Shi Yan wanted to visit the Antiquity Lofty Dragon's tomb. Father, did Shi Yan really hurt Zhou Yufeng and Sidu Jie? He even made them flee with difficulty? Did it really happen? Asked Yang Mu excitedly. The faces of some juniors in the Yang family reddened as if they were the main character in that fight. Yeah, people from the Sea Tribe said so. Many members of the Sea Tribes at the Silverstone Fort had witnessed that battle. Afterward, many Sea Tribes members here are staying content with their lot. They even treat us with more respect. That kid Shi Yan did something incredible. Haha. I always knew that he wouldn't be law-abiding. You see, just a couple days, and he had stirred up the Silverstone Fort. Many sea clans have seen him, laughed Yang Mu. Don't be happy that early. He's really dumb this time as he wants to visit the Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard. I think he would be all right. The beautiful eyes of Li Feng glistened. Don't know why, but I can sense the infinite potential in him. If someone else goes to the dragon's tomb, I'm sure he will die. But if it's Shi Yan, I think the result will be different. I think so too, smiled Yang Shui. The young generation of the Yang family had an extreme blind trust on Shi Yan after they had known about the surprises Shi Yan had brought. You guys don't really know the immensity of earth and firmament. Yang Zhuo beamed a forced smile. Under the vault of Heaven Sea area, inside the colorful coral reef. For silhouettes slowly descended next to Situ Jie, all wearing serious faces. Anxiang, Chao Jilong gracefully called out. You've arrived. After they received the news of the battle, Qingming, the Queen of Heaven, the Emperor of Earth, and Gu Shao immediately left aside the dispute they had in the endless sea to work together, and came to the seabed. You have guys suffered the hardship due to him, haven't you? Asked Gu Shao from the group of 6 with a cold and strict face. Is he that dangerous? Gu Shao looked at Situ Jie, then Qingming, the Queen of Heaven, and the Emperor of Earth. He frowned. Do you really need to mobilize our force? If we don't exterminate him this time, we will not have any chance later. Situ Jie shook his head and sighed. That brat isn't afraid of soul consciousness intrusions. At present, he's at the sky realm, but I don't know what kind of force he has borrowed, as he could exude the aura that wasn't less intimidating like a second sky of spirit realm warrior. Besides, he has a level 8 demonic beast and a metal class beast. They're really savage. It's been just a year, and he's made such progress? Queen of Heaven Fan Shangyun gave a forced smile. We couldn't withstand him in the battle that year. Now, he's even more dangerous. It's tough this time. If not, we wouldn't need to call you here, sighed So Yufeng. However, it's different this time. With the 4 of you, we will have the absolute triumph. Situ Jie darkened his face and said maliciously, this time, he must die. Chapter 468, Awaken. Chapter 468, Awaken. Shi Yan and Yin Hui went straight to the Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard. Along the way, they met some high-level beasts, but they somehow had some intelligence as they proactively avoided Yin Hui. Even though Yin Hui had a cultivation base of the second sky of Spirit Realm, he didn't intend to release his strong aura that much. However, it was enough to scare the demonic beasts away. The path they were taking was smooth and without any fear or danger. Eventually, on the 3rd day, the 2 of them reached a forbidden area which had a lot of skeletons of antiquity demonic beasts. At first glance, they were all large-sized white skeletons. Each beast's skeleton was as translucent as jade, sparkling with strange rays on the seabed. It gave people a feeling of full energy. Since they had reached this area, Yin Hui became more careful. He watched here and there at each step they took. Along the way, he had tried to probe the stories related to the life original fluid, but Shi Yan had dodged them all. No matter it was Yin Hui or the other spirit realm warriors who knew about the life original fluid, they would undoubtedly develop the greedy desire in their hearts. Shi Yan wasn't an idiot. If he told them that he did have the life original fluid, Nu Lang would go crazy. Even if Nu Lang was well known for his moral conduct, he was still a member of the Sea tribes. Before he could have the ability to protect the life original fluid, if he disclosed it, Nu Lang would use force to snatch it from him. Shi Yan wasn't confident in taking the upper hand against the peerless warrior of the Sea tribes. Thus, keeping it on the low was necessary at this time. The area ahead of us has chaotic energies. Keep walking forward. It's the Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard. Yin Hui ceased walking and frowned at him. I can accompany you only to this area. I don't want to die in vain. At last, I want to advise you this thing. If you don't want to die, you'd better stop here. Goodbye. Shi Yan smiled, but he didn't look worried at all. If I can return alive, I will visit you at the Silver Shark clan. At that time, perhaps we can do some real business. What business? Yin Hui was surprised. The one you are interested in. Shi Yan contemplated, then swayed his hand. I have to go. Thanks for guiding me here. Last question. You didn't get the life original fluid in the dark magnetic noxious mist, did you? Yin Hui wore a solemn face. Perhaps you will disappear from this world after this moment. Could you tell me the truth? He still stuck to this topic. When I come back safely, we will discuss it. Shi Yan smiled, then entered the area. Under the chaotic energies, he still walked calmly forward. Yin Hui's eyes brightened. He stood at his spot, looking at Shi Yan disappearing. His countenance was uncertain. Long afterward, he sighed and muttered, if you can come back alive, perhaps we should really talk. I hope you fella have plenty of luck, and that you could turn danger into good luck. The antiquity lofty dragon graveyard has buried so many talents of the sea tribes. If you can survive, it means you can do something the precursors of the sea tribes couldn't. It's enough for all strong warriors of the sea tribes to look at you with respect. Of course, Shi Yan couldn't hear what Inhui said. After he had intruded the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard, the blood vein ring started to sparkle, unceasingly releasing an immense, misty, blood halo. The white skeletons of the beasts were so many that it was beyond people's imagination. At first glance, the whole area was covered with white bones. With a closer look, Shi Yan found out many smaller skeletons among the giant beast skeletons. Those skeletons had different shapes with the signature of the sea tribes. Apparently, what Inhui and the other had told him was true. Thousands of years had gone by, and this ancient dragon graveyard had buried so many strong warriors of the sea tribes. Phosphorescent dots flew out from inside the skeletons from time to time. They were floating in the water, gazing at people like the eyes of demons. This caused people anxiety, and it could even affect the sea of consciousness somehow. The surging, cold, and evil energies permeated the area. These kinds of energies were really massive. They created numerous vortexes that naked eyes couldn't see. If someone carelessly got in one of the vortexes, they would be devoured, leaving nothing behind. The scary rumors about this place grew in his mind. He was a little bit anxious as his moves became more careful. Unexpectedly, these energies with intimidating attributes were moving chaotically around him, but they didn't storm over. When these scary energies came near him and contacted the halo from the blood vein ring, they would scatter proactively. The blood vein ring was like a life-protecting amulet. As it was glittering, it could prevent all kinds of energy attacks which could even kill God Realm warriors. Along the way, he unexpectedly didn't encounter any danger. The forbidden place that discolored people was so peaceful to him that he couldn't believe his eyes. Was the blood vein ring genuinely related to this forbidden place? Shi Yan's eyes brightened, and his confidence boosted up. Without the blood vein ring, he couldn't know neither of the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard nor the bloodthirsty entourage of 8, Lao Luo's dark body. If the blood vein ring had guided him here, evidently, he needed not be worried that he would fall into dangerous situations. At this moment, he truly could appreciate the mystery of the blood vein ring. The blood vein ring was releasing a blood-like halo that could prevent all intrusions of evil forces in the lofty dragon's tomb. Along the way, all kinds of energies in the forbidden place had to disperse around him and couldn't attach to his body. He was gliding among all sorts of white skeletons. As he didn't encounter any risks, he directly entered the marvel he had never seen before. The 300-meter skeleton of the lofty dragon. The skeleton was snow-white with a twinkling brilliance. The white frame of the lofty dragon stayed inside the house made of demonic beast skeletons. Right under the yellow dragon skeleton lay a giant black crystal coffin. The coffin lid was covered with all kinds of peculiar patterns, which looked pretty similar to the patterns on the blood vein ring. It seemed like they were moving slowly. An old, desolate, rude, and unreasonable aura vehemently burst out from the black coffin that shook people. The blood halo emitting from the blood vein ring suddenly became fiercer, releasing a scarlet light beaming over the black coffin. The mysterious patterns on the coffin seemed like they were revived, moving faster on the coffin. A dark, evil energy shot out from there. Bang! The lid of the coffin exploded into pieces. A black iron puppet that was around 3 meters tall sat up in the coffin. This puppet was covered in iron armor, which seemed to grow directly on its body, connected perfectly without any gaps or slits. This puppet wore an ink-black ferocious mask that exposed only its swarthy, empty pupils. The color of its pupils was vague, and Shi Yan didn't know what could have had happened to them. Bang bang, bang bang. A strong heartbeat reverberated from the puppet. It seemed like it had an extremely exuberant heart that could transport the world-shaking dark energy for the puppet's body. The puppet got up from the coffin, looking at the blood vein ring. A scarlet beam shot out from the blood vein ring, shining directly onto the pupils of the puppet. The black pupils of the puppet gradually turned dark red, and it seemed like there was a drop of blood inside each of its pupils, which was really terrifying. A strange soul fluctuation was generated from the scarlet light, pouring into the puppet. Deep inside the puppet's pupils, an illusion of the immense blood sea with countless skeletons of many clans could be seen. Corpses laid everywhere, piling up like mountains. Blood gushing out from those corpses had generated all sorts of sinister patterns. It was like some soul ritual had been performed. Seemed like the red beams from the blood vein ring had activated this antiquity demogorgon. The puppet in the coffin received the mysterious scarlet light from the blood vein ring in silence. Seemed like it was about to be wakened up from some ancient, intimidating place and brought back to this world. A black light started to shoot out from the puppet. This dark light was filled with a terrorizing, destructive aura. The meaning of this puppet's existence somehow was to destroy everything in this world, bringing this world into the endless darkness. Shi Yan felt suffocated standing in front of that puppet and sensing the dark, devastating aura from it. It felt like a 10,000 meters tall castle suddenly pressed down on his heart, which made him feel out of breath. He had never received this kind of a pressure from any strong warrior. Even when he was facing Devil Emperor Shi Yan, he hadn't experienced such strenuous pressure. How terrifying this existence was. Shi Yan's face changed. Looking at that puppet, he wondered if his decision of entering the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard this time was good or bad. He came and used his blood vein ring to wake up a black puppet which had the dark and destructive aura. The surging energy from this puppet was truly earth-shaking. This snatched his confidence away. If this man weren't controlled, and he could swagger around the seabed and on land as he pleased, it would be unknown how many warriors undersea and on land would have to suffer, along with the innocent civilians. This formidable existence had the power to destroy the entire endless sea. Shi Yan wore a cold face, gazing attentively on that puppet. He didn't dare to distract his mind, as he was afraid that this puppet would make any strange moves. Bloodthirsty's entourage of 8. Lao Luo's dark body. Was the puppet that guy? Or was it just a clone? Lao Luo was just one of the Bloodthirsty's entourage of 8. If so, how tremendous was the former owner of the Blood Vein Ring, the God King? Regret started to swell up in Shi Yan, as he thought that he had made a wrong decision this time. Numerous beams of scarlet light radiated from the Blood Vein Ring, and all of them fell into the pupils of Lao Luo's dark body. The eyes of the puppet gradually become darker, just like the 2 dark suns that could absorb all light. Eventually, the light from the blood vein ring ceased. A soul-conscious seal shot out from the blood vein ring, darting to the host's soul in his sea of consciousness. The Imperial Soul Imprint. Chapter 469. The War Devil. Chapter 469. The War Devil. /Sigma. That was an imprint that controlled spirits. This imprint had reached an agreement with Lao Luo's body. When Shi Yan let his mind sink into the imprint, he found that he could control that black iron puppet. It was a marvelous sense he couldn't describe. As soon as his thoughts sent a message to the Imperial Soul imprint, this unidentified black iron puppet would do as he asked. His mind flickered, and the black iron puppet walked toward him. A malicious aura exuded from the puppet that sent shivers down Shi Yan's spine. Under this tremendous pressure, he had the tense feeling he had never had before. But his blood vein ring had the power to control this Lao Luo's dark body. Shi Yan relaxed his tense nerves and started to study the soul imprint in his host's soul, letting his mind sink into it and send out messages. As expected, the black iron puppet was changing its positions unceasingly according to his wishes. What he thought, the puppet would implement. His eyes suddenly brightened. As his messages were being sent along, the black iron puppet was swiftly gliding inside the skeleton of the lofty dragon. War Devil. The ice-cold flame sent him its thought from inside the blood vein ring. It seemed to be frightened. Shi Yan was surprised, but he reacted immediately. You know the origin of this fellow. The fighting puppet was forged by warriors of the antiquity era. It has the pure fighting will and can break even the hardest defense. The information the ice-cold flame gave him was exciting. Where did you get him? This is absolutely the fighting puppet made by warriors in ancient times. He's called War Devil. Only warriors in that era knew how to refine war devils. The aura on this war devil is extraordinarily vicious. I think it has at least the power of peak spirit realm. So, what are the war devils? War devils are fighting puppets that were born for fighting. High-level war devils can have the fighting imprint of their masters. That's how it could have its master's divine abilities. To refine a war devil, it needs hundreds or even 1,000 years together with the consumption of endless resources of earth and firmament. It has to absorb the special energies from heaven and earth to be formed gradually. Seemed like the ice-cold flame did know about this puppet as it hurried to explain Shi Yan. As far as I've known, in that era, each war devil was very formidable. It could be used as a clone of its master with the master's divine soul imprint, and its effects were huge. War devils from the antiquity time. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. Perhaps the previous owner of the blood vein ring was a strong warrior in the ancient time, or it was even older than the antiquity, the time the first warriors ever appeared. Suddenly, he was dazed. He had never thought that the origin of the blood vein ring was beyond his imagination. The antiquity was the dawn of the warriors, which had the strongest warrior in the legends. They said that there were some peerless warriors whose powers even surpassed the God-King limit. They had intimidating powers, and their bodies could leave the Grace mainland to travel the vast celestial area. If the blood vein ring came from that era, its previous owner must be an earth-shaking warrior. Why did he die? Why did the blood vein ring appear in that worn-out cave? Why had he appeared in that cave from another world by chance? Did that antiquity warrior know how to switch time and space to bring people from another era to this world? As he could use the heaven and earth that much, what kind of fantastic level had he reached? He was totally dumbstruck. At this moment, he suddenly realized it wasn't coincidental that he had appeared in that cave. Perhaps all the key factors stayed in the blood vein ring. Warriors at that time could understand all kinds of power in the heaven and earth and various other mysterious meanings. All the current martial techniques, soul techniques, or martial spirits are inherited from warriors of that era. It's the era of the origin of warriors, the root of warriors. The ice-cold flame told Shi Yan all it knew. Shi Yan became more frightened as he listened to the flame's description. According to the ice-cold flame, the antiquity was the peak era of the warriors. Compared to them, the present warriors in this world were as small as ants that they could kill within a second. This war devil fighting puppet was born in that time. It can penetrate all sorts of hardest defenses. If you can control it, there will be no one in the endless sea that can subdue you. Shi Yan couldn't help but get stirred up. The trip to the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard was smoother than he had expected. Since he had heard many terrible rumors about the lofty dragon's tomb, he was anxious when he entered the place, and he even thought that he had to risk his life to see the lofty dragon's skeleton. He wasn't so sure he could find that coffin. It was unexpected that with the blood vein ring's guidance, he hadn't experienced any terrifying adventure. It was like he was taking a stroll to the center of the lofty dragon graveyard. Now, he had found the dragon's skeleton and this black iron puppet. Everything was so smooth that he couldn't believe his own eyes. It hadn't even been a full day, and he had what he wanted. This harvest made him laugh with satisfaction. All thanks to the blood vein ring. The mystical treasure he got when he had just come to the Grace mainland did have such a strange power, and its profile was so amazing. Moreover, it could wake up the war devil fabricated by Lao Luo. War devil. Shi Yan curled his lips, looking at the puppet called War Devil, and couldn't help but feel lucky. He was lucky that he got the blood vein ring. After running around the lofty dragon graveyard one round, he found that the chaotic energies here were silently transmitted into the War Devil puppet. All sorts of energies existing in the dragon's tomb had been attracted by the War Devil, and they were storming over, disappearing into the puppet's body. War Devil took them in all. However, its aura wasn't increasing, but slowly retreating into its body. From the imprint in his host's soul, Shi Yan knew that the dark energy in the War Devil's heart had been increasing fast. But the War Devil was as if it were a profound warrior who knew how to hide his intimidating aura. The imposing pressure was slowly gone. Shi Yan wasn't hurried, waiting for the War Devil to absorb the energy right inside the lofty dragon's skeleton. Outside the graveyard, Yin Hui frowned waiting for him. All of a sudden, he recognized that the dense, chaotic energies had been diluted. This phenomenon surprised Inhui a lot. Light flashed across his eyes as he was staring at that area. Why is that happening? Inhui was dumbfounded for half of a day. He shook his head then muttered disbelievingly. It's just been 2 days. Has that kid met something strange in there? Why did the chaotic energy start to change not long after he entered the place? Does he know the subtle mysteries of the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard? Inhui was frightened. Hey, something's strange over there. Gu Zhao's eyes flared up while searching for his target in the seawater. He pointed to the lofty dragon graveyard's general direction. He furrowed his eyebrows then asked the others. Do you know what's the place over there? Is that the Silver Shark clan's territory? Why does it have such a tremendous surging energy like that? Situ Jie shook his head, hesitated for a while, and then his face discolored all of a sudden. That's the Lofty Dragon Graveyard. Lofty Dragon Graveyard? Gu Xiao was surprised as he shook his head, asking puzzlingly. What's that? The most mysterious forbidden area undersea. Situ Jie was the consecrator of the Martial Spirit Palace in the Vault of Heaven Sea area and had visited the seabed before. He knew there was a mysterious place like that undersea, which all the Sea Tribe's members considered the forbidden area and never dared to intrude. Situ Jie simply described all kinds of rumors about the lofty dragon's forbidden place. The warriors of the Endless Sea had their faces discolored after they listened to him. The Sea Tribe's forbidden place. Chao Jilan mused for a while before speaking up. Perhaps it isn't related to Shi Yan. He isn't stupid to enter that area. According to you, even the God Realm warriors of the Sea Tribes couldn't escape death if they came to that area. Would he dare to risk his life? Who knows? Situ Jie was hesitant for a moment before giving his suggestion. Searching in vain isn't a good solution. If that lofty dragon's graveyard has something anomalous, perhaps it will be related to the moves of the Sea Tribes. We aren't afraid to go there and check it out. All right. Everybody nodded in agreement. Let's go. Soon, the warriors from the Endless Sea had arrived at the edge of the lofty dragon's forbidden place and met Inhui there. Silver Shark Clan's patriarch. Zhou Yu foamed discolored, as he instinctively frowned when he thought they had come to the right place. It was certain that warriors of the Sea Tribes were doing something they didn't want the others to know here. Inhui was also surprised. He shook his head then looked at the other with an odd face. I didn't expect that you guys could come here. Yeah, good fortune. But it's useless even if you can come here. Shi Yan's in the lofty dragon's tomb. If you aren't afraid of death, you can go there to find him. What? Chao Jilan shouted. She was astonished that they had found Shi Yan's whereabouts. Is he really there? Situ Jie was excited, grinning. Seems like God does want that brat to die. Let's see if he can leave this place alive. If he does come out, what's good for you if you're waiting for him here? Inhui wanted to stir up the mess. He's been there for almost 3 days. Although I don't know what's going on there, I'm sure the change in the area related to him. If you want to kill him, just get in there directly. Haha, we can wait outside. Zhongli Dun smiled. Of course, he wouldn't fall into the other's trap. Being the future leader of the Martial Spirit Palace, he knew how intimidating the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard was. Apparently, he wouldn't take risks. Well then, just take your time. Chapter 470, Come Out. Chapter 470, Come Out. Outside the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard, 6 spirit realm warriors, including Situ Jie, Qingming, and the 4 Chaojilan, Panja, Sanglan, and Zhongli Dun, were waiting for something in silence. Inhui was standing 10 meters away from those 10 people. He was calm and didn't show any trace of fear. This place was undersea, the territory of the Silver Shark clan, and Inhui had a cultivation base of the second sky of Spirit Realm, which was higher than the others. If he wanted to run away, even the 6 people of Situ Jie's group couldn't hold him back. Since his realm was higher than theirs, Inhui was relaxed, watching over this group of warriors. That kid has entered the lofty dragon graveyard. Perhaps we don't need. Situ Jie coldly looked in the direction of the graveyard. Thousands of years have passed by, and numerous hotshots of the Sea Tribes had intruded the place, but no one could come out alive. Although that kid has good fortune, I don't think he could break this record. Zhongli Dun nodded in agreement. As the members of the Vault of Heaven Sea area, these two had heard about the intimidation of the lofty dragon's tomb. They knew many rumors about the area, so as they thought that Shi Yan couldn't come back alive. If it were someone else, we wouldn't need to wait, Chao Jilan frowned, talking with a solemn tone. But Shi Yan isn't a somebody. I've known him for several years, and he has brought me many strange feelings. He has many factors different from the others. If not, he couldn't progress that fast. I think he even has the ability to deal with you guys. I also think that he can come back alive. Panja wore a bitter smile. Don't know why, but I always feel Shi Yan is different from the others. Things they couldn't do, he may fulfill. You two are the strong young warriors of the Endless Sea. Have you been scared by Shi Yan that much? I think you two have a blind admiration for that brat. Zhongli Dun snorted, and then said with morose face, even if he's strong, will he be more mighty than the precursor of the sea tribes? I don't actually know what kind of special power he could have to survive and come back from the lofty dragon's tomb. If he didn't have the confidence, he would not enter the place. Chao Jilan threw him a glance and said with her stiff face and impolite tone, forgive me if I'm too frank, but Shi Yan has many dangerous skills that you can't even imagine. Yeah, you were the top warrior of the combat list, the most prominent young warrior of Endless Sea. But Shi Yan's existence has broken your title. No matter you accept the fact or not, he's stronger than you. Zhongli Dun grimaced. Light flashed in his eyes as he couldn't accept her saying. I admit that I have looked down on him, Chao Jilan continued indifferently. But I don't disdain you. I can say clearly that you, Zhongli Dun, are too weak compared to Shi Yan. Zhongli Dun, if you are able, why do you need many seniors accompanying you to catch Shi Yan? I think, if Shi Yan wants to kill you, he needs only 1 second. Zhongli Dun's eyes were cold, his face getting more and more malicious. All right, Situ Jia furrowed his brows. Shi Yan is really dangerous. Otherwise, we wouldn't need to gather many people here to catch him. Anyway, don't be dispirited. No matter how powerful he is, he has to die this time. It's been many years since the Endless Sea has had some dazzling stars. But many of the ones that appeared had been shut off before they could grow up. Shi Yan's about to fall into the same track. I hope so. Chao Jilan shook her head then let out a slight sigh. Her heart was filled with resentment. What made her regret the most was her narrow vision. If she had believed Shi Yan and tied the Chao family and Shi Yan together, the current situation would have been different from now. She was the proudest and most arrogant among the young generations of the Chao family. She had pride, but that pride had been torn apart after she got to know Shi Yan. Shi Yan's appearance reminded her that there was someone in the Endless Sea who could subdue her in many aspects. She had been dissatisfied, and perhaps she didn't want to admit it. So, after she had known about the pagans and the decline of the Yang family, she put down her emotional approval and decided to give up on Shi Yan, turning her back on the Yangs. It turned out that her decision was wrong. Those people were still waiting in ambush outside the dragon's graveyard. 5 days passed by like a flash. All kinds of chaotic energies inside the graveyard had disappeared completely. As they were spirit realm warriors, they all recognized that scary change and were discreetly frightened. Especially Inhui. He had seen with his own eyes that 2 days after Shi Yan had entered the place, those kinds of evil and peculiar energies wandering for hundreds of years inside the lofty dragon's tomb had been changed. In just a short period, they were all gone. This phenomenon had never happened before. He had been living for so many years undersea, but he had never heard about this strange phenomenon in the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. Apparently, it was related to Shi Yan. Anticipation gradually grew in him. At first, he hadn't expected anything. But now, something strange had happened inside the graveyard, which was unprecedented for thousands of years. Perhaps Shi Yan could really return alive. Another day had gone by. A dark air current pervaded in the water, drifting quickly while emitting blisters everywhere. There was some kind of a peculiar power inside those blisters. In just a blink of an eye, several thousands of blisters appeared, then slowly gathered into a giant chunk of blister. However, that blister then disappeared into thin air as if some creature had devoured it. A long while later, a silhouette emerged from the graveyard, calmly walking towards this direction. Behind him walked a 3-meter-tall black iron puppet. The hefty-built puppet was moving agilely, giving people a strange illusion of willow kaken. One man and one black iron puppet were walking like that towards the other people standing in front of the tomb. Yin Hui's eyes brightened up. The 6 spirit realm warriors suddenly put on cold faces as divine light shot out from their eyes, shining on Shi Yan. "He has returned," Yin Hui muttered with a complicated expression. He was dumbfounded for a while before shifting his look on Situ Jie's group of 6, frowning as he was considering how to deal with the upcoming big fight. "He's unexpectedly coming out from the lofty dragon graveyard." Zhongli Dun's face was grimaced. His eyes were as sharp as a saber, sneering all of a sudden. "But his end is still going to be death." The young man strolled over, not intending to dodge the others. He came in front of them and then curled his lips. "Such a mighty formation. Well, it's not been even 10 days, and you can already come back from the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard." Yin Hui beamed a forced smile. "I admit that I always looked down on you. But I can't imagine you could fulfill what the hotshots of the sea tribes couldn't do. Shi Yan, I have found that you have infinite potential." Shi Yan smiled but didn't say anything. "Yeah, I think you can be as stable as Mount Tai under the siege of those 6 spirit realm warriors." Yin Hui's face became solemn. All of a sudden, a white beam shot out from his eyes, entering Shi Yan's soul. At the same time, a message was transmitted to Shi Yan. "If you need help, you only need to nod, and I will bring you out of the siege of those 6 people." Yin Hui's realm was much higher than Situ Jie and his men. This message sent by his soul consciousness directly contacted with Shi Yan's soul, and the others couldn't hear it. Under Yin Hui's bright eyes, Shi Yan smiled then shook his head, indicating he didn't need help. Yin Hui was both amazed and suspicious. He didn't know why Shi Yan had such pride to deny his offer. This kid had some new method to flee away, perhaps. The more he thought about it, the more curious Yin Hui was. He stayed aside to observe what miracle method Shi Yan had. He didn't dare to think that Shi Yan could kill those 6 spirit realm warriors. Although they were just at the first sky of spirit realm, if the 6 of them joined hands, even Yin Hui would find it hard to encounter. Situ Jia, Zhou Yufeng, Gu Shao, Qing Ming, the Queen of Heaven, and the Emperor of Earth, Shi Yan looked at them and called out their names. He nodded and smiled. "Good. Those who should have come, have come. Seems like you all are in a hurry to kill me." "Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. It saves me from more troubles." Shi Yan. The beautiful eyes of Chao Jilan were sad as she spoke up with a soft voice. "If you give up willingly and self-destroy your cultivation base, I can save your life." "Miss Chao," Qing Ming, Situ Jia, Gu Shao, and Zhongli Dun shouted before she could finish her talk. Their faces changed. No doubt he has to die. Absolutely no chance for him to escape death. "I think we've talked about this very clearly." Chao Jilan frowned. "Do we really have to kill him? If he isn't a threat to us, we can spare his life." "Do not raise your words again." Situ Jia's voice was strong. "He has to die. No one can change this." The group of Qing Ming also nodded seriously. Chao Jilan sighed, frowned, and shut her mouth. "Haha. Seems like you really think that I have to die this time, eh?" Shi Yan's mouth cracked into a smile. He seemed to not be in a hurry at all. "With only 4 spirit realm warriors, and you're so confident that you expect me to die even before we start our fight. Do you really have such confidence? Do you think there would be some surprises?" Zhongli Dun smiled and ridiculed. "I think, yes," Shi Yan smiled. "A huge surprise. Perhaps, in the end, the ones who would have to run for their lives will be you guys, and not me." His dark and cold eyes gazed at Zhongli Dun, just like an ice sword taken out of its scabbard, diffusing thick murderous intent. Chapter 471. Rip in Half. Chapter 471. Rip in Half. After Lao Luo's dark body had absorbed the chaotic energies inside the lofty dragon's tomb, it could hide its aura, completely concealing its crazy, ominous, and imposing aura. Thus, even Situjia's group only saw a black iron puppet behind Shi Yan. They didn't pay attention to it because the black puppet didn't emit any unusual aura. They thought that this black puppet was just a regular one, so they didn't lay their eyes on it. Only Yin Hui, who was at the second sky of Spirit Realm, plus had seen Shi Yan go there alone, could confirm that this black iron puppet was from the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. He then kept an eye on this war devil black iron puppet. The soul consciousness of the second sky of Spirit Realm warrior was released invisibly to peep on the mysterious features of the war devil. However, as soon as his soul consciousness got there, it was as if it had fallen into the vast sea, echoing nothing at all. It was like his soul consciousness had been drawn into a black hole. The connection between him and the soul consciousness was also cut off, and he couldn't track it back. Yin Hui's countenance changed quietly as his mind was struck and tense. Even Nu Lang, who was at the third sky of Spirit Realm, couldn't devour his soul consciousness while leaving no trace like that. What was that fearful black iron puppet? Yin Hui was scared. He vaguely got something when eyeing Shi Yan. The anomalous event that happened in the lofty dragon's graveyard was obviously related to this black iron puppet. Perhaps what caused it was this puppet. The more Yin Hui thought about the matter, the more frightened he became when he looked at Shi Yan and the black iron puppet. Light flickered in his eyes as his heart was dreading. One should definitely not provoke this kid. Yin Hui had made up his mind that no matter what happened, he would not do anything that irritated Shi Yan. At this moment, he knew his finding would change the future situation of the Endless Sea. Shi Yan himself was scary enough. Now, from the lofty dragon's tomb, he got a black iron puppet, which was in defiance of the natural order. In the Endless Sea, who could go against him? Yin Hui was frightened inside. He instinctively took several steps back, held up his hand, and said, "No matter what you guys want to do, I'm not going to interfere your business. Anyway, I want to make it clear that I'm just an observer. If you guys engage in a fight, don't count me in." Shi Yan wore a contemplating face before bursting out in laughter. He knew this cunning old folk had sensed something. Why do you need to waste more time? Situjia's countenance was calm. He looked at Gu Xiao, Qing Ming, and grinned. "You've been waiting for so long. Now, he's here in front of you guys. We will get it done once and for all, so would we still have to bear the threat from this brat? When he dies, we can focus on dealing with the dark dwellers and demon dwellers," said Zhongli Dun with a cold smile. "You will die first. Don't know why I always feel irritated seeing you." Shi Yan shook his head and sneered. "Don't appreciate yourself too high. In the Endless Sea, you're not the new star. In the Grace Mainland, you're nothing. There are so many young people of the Divine Great Land who have reached the Sky Realm. Also, there are some who are in defiance of the natural order as they have reached the peak of the Sky Realm. Compared to them, you, Zhongli Dun, you are nothing." His words had shaken everybody. "You've been to the Divine Great Land?" Panja was astounded. Shaking his head, Shi Yan explained patiently. "Not yet. Wait until the things in the Endless Sea's over. I'll go there to search for the ultimate mystery of martial arts. Anyway, I've been to the dark magnetic noxious mist. I got to know many young fellows of the Divine Great Land. Every single one of them is much stronger than Zhongli Dun. Haha, and they aren't the shining stars of the Divine Great Land. I'm telling you, don't be the frog hiding under the coconut shell and think that the Endless Sea is the best place. In their eyes, the Endless Sea's just a place of barbarians. We don't even have a single true God realm warrior. Always staying in such a place, how pathetic we are." All the warriors, including Yin Hui, discolored. "Forget it. I'm not going to waste my time with you guys." He smiled, waved his hand while pointing at Zhongli Dun. "Start with him. Kill anyone you can. Never mind if they run away. They'll die sooner or later. Who dares to linger, kill 'em all." Zhongli Dun was shaken, his face dumbfounded. Situjia's group were bewildered, not knowing to whom Shi Yan was talking. But right after that, they knew to whom Shi Yan had assigned these tasks. The 3-meter-tall black iron puppet war devil deliberately walked out from behind him, strolling towards Zhongli Dun. It was slow at first, but its pace was getting faster and faster after each step. Ultimately, the war devil turned into a black thunderbolt and shot toward Zhongli Dun. Its two eyes were like two dark suns that gazed at Zhongli Dun. An evil, vicious energy that could drown people's minds into endless darkness was suddenly released. When Zhongli Dun met the war devil's eyes, he was stunned, blankly standing at his spot. Crack! The war devil flew over and stomped on the top of Zhongli Dun's head. People then heard the sound of cracking bones. Zhongli Dun was turned into a pulp of flesh after just one strike. Situ Jie could only watch the scene of Zhongli Dun getting killed and didn't have enough time to help. On the contrary, he had to urge all the strength of his soul consciousness to resist the intimidating soul energy intruding. He suddenly found himself dragged into a world of endless darkness. No beam of light could be seen. His soul consciousness sank as it met the death and destructive intent domain there, just like he was a dead man entering a strange, eccentric space. An earth-shattering, dark aura expanded from the war devil, which had just killed Zhongli Dun. This malicious aura seemed to want to destroy the whole world, enveloping the entire seabed of the Vault of Heaven Sea area. At this moment, all Spirit Realm warriors were dumbfounded as fear filled their faces. Even the two great warriors above the Vault of Heaven Sea area noticed this torrential, ominous source of evil. They hurriedly got out of the Vault of Heaven Sea area, plunging into the sea with their fastest pace. At the same time, inside the extinct volcanoes of the Black Flood Dragon clan, Nu Lang was talking with the three Spirit Realm warriors. He suddenly got pale-faced as he shouted, such a strong, evil force. Patriarch, what's going on? Since your realms are still low and your knowledge of souls is shallow, you can't sense it. Nu Lang got up suddenly. That evil energy comes from the Silver Shark clan. Seems like it's from the lofty dragon graveyard. I have to go there to see. Then, Nu Lang turned into a bunch of light, shooting straight to that area. Yin Hui was utterly stunned. Although he knew that War Devil should be extraordinary, he didn't expect that its terrifying aura could cover the whole territory of the Silver Shark clan. Such a destroying earth force could subdue all hotshots present here. Kill him. Shi Yan pointed at Situ Jie. The War Devil got it. The pupils looked like two dark suns as they gazed at Situ Jie, destroying his mentality. His face was blank just like what Zhongli Dun's. It's entered Situ Jie's soul. Gu Shao woke up from fear and immediately shouted, "Join hands and deal with this black iron puppet. We can't let it kill each of us like that." His words woke up everyone. The Queen of Heaven, the Emperor of Earth, Qing Ming and Zhou Yufeng took action together. They urged their secret treasures and their outstanding martial arts. Sacred swords, small cauldrons, jade, knife and fork, etc., all utilized their special energies and joined each other. Many kinds of beautiful holy lights radiated, shooting towards the War Devil. Rumble, rumble. Although it was receiving the attack from various kinds of secret treasures and energies, the War Devil stood still like a stone table. No scratch could be seen on its body. The black iron armor on its body was the strongest wall in the world, unafraid of any kinds of power. Under numerous attacks of secret treasures and energies, the War Devil sauntered towards Situ Jie. Its massive arm stretched out, grabbed Situ Jie by his legs and ripped him in half. The body with the spirit realm cultivation of Situ Jie was like a piece of paper in the puppet hands. He was torn apart, and bloody intestines fell on the ground. Even Situ Jie's soul, which hadn't got out of his body yet, perished under the gaze of the puppet's dark pupils. Both the flesh body and the soul were destroyed. In just a short moment, Situ Jie had been killed, and even his soul was destroyed. Zhongli Dun was smashed into a pulp of meat, with nothing left behind. Shi Yan's complexion was a little shaken, but he burst out laughing. Well done. Worth my expectations. The power of the War Devil was what he had imagined, as it was capable of terminating warriors like Situ Jie. After the War Devil had taken action, Shi Yan felt at ease as he knew he would definitely win this time. What the heck is it? The Queen of Heaven Fan Xiangyan's voice was shaking. Deep fear flooded her charming face. No matter what it is, it should have some weakness. Zhou Yufeng shouted. Kill Shi Yan first. If he dies, this fighting puppet will lose its effects. Everybody responded to his shout, looking at Shi Yan. The next one, Shi Yan curled his lips, pointing at Zhou Yufeng. A blood light shot out from the war devil's dark pupils, striking towards Zhou Yufeng. A beam of dark, endless light flew out from its mouth, which seemed to be able to devour all kinds of lights. When it appeared, all the light undersea was absorbed. The whole place became pitch dark and one couldn't even see his own fingers. In this complete darkness, Zhou Yufeng's pitiful scream rose. Everyone heard it, but they couldn't see what had happened. In the immense darkness, Zhou Yufeng's voice was so mournful, which didn't seem to belong to a human at all. The irritating sound of dismembering flesh and breaking bones echoed from time to time. This was absolutely terrifying. Under the situation that they couldn't see anything but only hear the dreadful screams, it was much worse than seeing someone being buried or dismembered alive. Although Qing Ming and the Queen of Heaven had the spirit realm cultivation base, they couldn't bear such pressure. They couldn't help but cry, then tried all means to get to the sea surface. Gradually, Zhou Yufeng's heart-rending shrills ceased. The darkness on the seabed also lifted up. Zhou Yufeng wasn't there and was replaced a pile of smashed meat, just like it was grounded by a meat grinder. It was really terrible to look at him now. Chapter 472, Strong Crowd. Chapter 472, Strong Crowd. It seemed only in a short moment, but the trio of Situ Jia, Zhongli Dun, and Zhou Yufeng had been smashed, receiving a pathetic death on the spot. Shi Yan didn't do anything. He just stood there and indifferently watched the war devil demonstrate its terrifying power, killing 2 spirit realm warriors and Zhongli Dun. It had happened too fast, and many of them couldn't react before they saw the pulp that used to be Situ Jia and Zhou Yufeng. Qing Ming, the Queen of Heaven, Gu Xiao, and the Emperor of Earth felt shivers running down their spines on hearing the terrible shrill in the darkness. They couldn't bear it anymore, and all flew up towards the sea surface at top speed. Shi Yan didn't hurry. He waited until Zhou Yufeng got killed, smiled, and looked at the sea surface. He then shook his head, speaking up coldly, "The monks can run away, but the temple stays." The result's all set. Even if they don't die now, it's only death waiting for them in the future. After Situ Jia, Zhou Yufeng and Zhongli Dun died, their essence qi left their bodies. As expected, it all flew towards Shi Yan. Anyway, Situ Jia's essence qi was beyond his imagination. The essence qi of the spirit realm warrior made his 720 acupuncture points swollen. Shi Yan didn't wait until he could get all the essence qi and instinctively got away from this bloody, messy place. It wasn't that he didn't want it. It was just him knowing his limit. Although the upper limit to absorb the energy of his mysterious martial spirit had increased a lot after he had entered the sky realm, the essence qi of a spirit realm warrior was actually too much. Situ Jia's alone was enough to fill his acupuncture points. If he got more from Zhou Yufeng and Zhongli Dun, he was afraid that his acupuncture points would be blown away. That's why he had to stay away and wait until their essence qi scattered in heaven and earth before approaching the area again. Yin Hui stood petrified at his spot, his eyes gazing at Shi Yan without blinking, and his face filled with fear. Finally, he could confirm the intimidation of the war devil. With the very first moves, he could brutally kill Situ Jia, Zhou Yufeng, and Zhongli Dun. Such formidable power could be compared to Nu Lang, a third sky of spirit realm warrior. Yin Hui himself didn't dare to provoke this sharp spear, and he also didn't have the intention to poke his nose in this bloody business. He then started to consider the relationship between the Silver Shark clan and the Yang family. Although the power Shi Yan had used this time didn't belong to his body, it was enough to terrify Yin Hui. The War Devil's performance made him recognize that in the Endless Sea, only Chao Qiu Dao and Yang Yi Tian could survive safe and sound at the hands of the War Devil. Besides them, none of the warriors in the Endless Sea could tower this dazzling halo. Shi Yan. Yin Hui was a little bit hesitant, his voice dry. He beamed a forced smile and said, Does this black iron puppet come from the lofty dragon graveyard? How could you bring this terrifying thing out of the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard? Yeah, I know it's personal, but the antiquity lofty graveyard belongs to the sea tribes anyway. It's our forbidden area, and you're human. How could you do that? Destiny, Shi Yan curled his lips. He lifted his head to watch the sea surface, then frowned. Yin Hui was standing in front of him, also surprised. Someone's coming. The seawater surrounding was flowing rapidly. Waves undersea were surging like someone was surfing the wave to get here. His speed was so fast the seawater could barely bear his force. It started to rise, causing a great change. A majestic figure suddenly appeared next to Yin Hui. Nu Lang, the patriarch of the Black Flood Dragon clan. He had utilized his third sky of Spirit Realm cultivation base to get here with maximum speed. It took him only several minutes to arrive at the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. Nu Lang's visage was dark. He frowned while observing the situation, then shifted his eyes to the war devil with a strange look. Half a minute later, Nu Lang took a deep breath, then turned to Yin Hui. Some spirit realm warriors got killed here, right? He glared at the black iron puppet. You got it, Yin Hui answered with a serious countenance. He nodded. It's because of that black iron puppet. He's brought it out from the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. Nu Lang's majestic body was shaken. Divine light shot out from his eyes as he was scrutinizing Shi Yan. Shi Yan smiled, bent down to greet him, then said with manners. Greeting, Precursor Nu Lang. Haha, I didn't expect we would meet up again that fast. The antiquity lofty dragon graveyard has always been the forbidden place on the ocean floor. Thousands of years have been passed, and countless strong warriors had buried themselves in there. No one was lucky enough to come back alive. Nu Lang's eyes shone with radiant light. Why could you survive that place and even brought out with you such an intimidating black iron puppet? Good fortune. Shi Yan's visage was serious. The antiquity lofty dragon and I had some relationship in the ancient times. It's destined that I could enter that dark place. This black iron puppet belongs to the antiquity. Why I can have it now is all about my fate. Nu Lang was surprised. Yin Hui just shook his head while beaming a forced smile. He both admired and envied Shi Yan. Nu Lang mused for a while, then sighed. Is it real destiny? The antiquity lofty dragon graveyard has buried many of my ancestors, but now its mysteries cracked by a human. Perhaps, you little fella have some connection with our sea tribes, eh? Shi Yan was amazed. He had never thought about this. He was hesitant, then shook his head. I'm not sure. Anyway, this antiquity lofty dragon graveyard does have a connection with the ancient existence. I can't tell the details. I can only say that my fortune isn't bad. Nu Lang and Yin Hui frowned, seriously considering the hidden meaning in his words. Later, Nu Lang faced up to check the sky as his eyes squinted to align. Seems like I am not the only one who recognized the strange event here. It's unexpected that the great two warriors of the Vault of Heaven Sea area are coming, too. The seawater was split apart as two figures descended one after another from above. The Queen of Heaven, the Emperor of Earth, Qingming, Gu Shao, Panja, and Chao Jilan, who had fled away in fear, appeared behind them. However, they didn't dare to move forward, just staying behind the other two to observe the situation. Yang Yitian, Xia Qingho. Yin Hui took a look and got shocked, exclaiming. Shi Yan's eyes brightened as he hurriedly looked up. A naturally handsome, elegant, middle-aged man was plunging down quietly, wearing a purple gown accompanied with a feathered crest. His face held a tender smile. Hall Master of the Martial Spirit Palace, Yang Yitian, an overlord of a part of the Endless Sea. An old man wearing hemp garments and straw sandals followed him. That man was old and wrinkled, but he had a distant, deep green, old aura. He was the former master of the Xia family, Xia Qingho. The two most outstanding warriors of the Vault of Heaven Sea area appeared from the sea surface. After they arrived, they all looked at Nu Lang with surprised eyes. Seemed like they'd assumed that Nu Lang was the one who had initiated all these things. It wasn't me. Nu Lang was calm as he snorted, then shifted his line of sight to Shi Yan. Yang Yitian's and Xia Qingho's pupil shrank. They then eyed Shi Yan with surprised and disbelieving countenances. Yang Etian had gawked for a while, then ceased the smile on his face. He closed his eyes to sense something, then shouted all of a sudden. Who killed Situ Jie and Zhongli Dun? Me. Shi Yan bent his body slightly, smiled, and clasped his hands. Shi Yan, a junior, greeting Precursor Yang. He paused for a while, then continued his smile, looking at Xia Qingho. His manner was more sincere. We meet here, great-grandfather Xia. The senile face of Xia Qingho cracked a smile. His attitude was tender. He walked towards Shi Yan, his eyes shining. You're Shi Yan? Yes. Good boy. Good boy. Good. Xia Qingho said good 3 times consecutively. Then, he appeared next to Shi Yan, standing opposite Yang Etian. The Xia family and the Yang family always had a good relation. Xia Qingho and Yang Tian Emperor were close friends for 100 years. He also knew about Shi Yan and Xia Xinyan's relationship from the juniors of the Xia family. After he had recovered, he always paid attention to Shi Yan, as he knew well what Shi Yan done during these years in the Endless Sea. In his eyes, Shi Yan was a family member, Xia Xinyan's fiancé. Even the reason why he could recover that fast was related to Shi Yan. Of course, he and Shi Yan stood in the same boat. Hall Master Yang, Xia Qingho smiled, his face contemplating. Seems like you guys had sent someone to kill Shi Yan, but you didn't have good fortune. Yeah, first, I'd like to express my opinion. No matter what, I'm on the same side as Shi Yan. If you want to deal with him, I will definitely not just stand and stare. Precursor Yang, Shi Yan curled his lips. Forgive my childish, arrogant words, but if you want to kill me, it should be a little bit difficult here. Then, his thought flickered, sending his message to the War Devil. The War Devil was still hiding its aura. After receiving Shi Yan's thought, it started to stroll towards Yang Etian. A murderous, earth-destroying aura like the immense water of the Endless Sea gushed out from the War Devil, instantly covering the whole territory of the Silver Shark clan. Yang Etian's face changed dramatically. Nu Lang frowned. Xia Qingho's eyes brightened. The 3 real heroes of the land and the undersea had different facial expressions. I still don't understand why you guys are still fighting against each other, even though we're all warriors of the Endless Sea. Shi Yan's face darkened. When I was in Yuan Luo Sea area, the demon dwellers had struggled to kill me, which I can understand. But why do you guys want to destroy me? It has repeated many times. Their attitude is like they can't live well if they can't eradicate me. Precursor Yang, could you elaborate the reasons? The ones who want to kill you include Gu Shao, Dongfeng Ju, and Qingming. Yang Etian snorted coldly. I'm just watching. Although you seem to have unpredictable potential, I didn't put you in my eyes. But now, it's different. You'd killed Situ Jie and Zhongli Dun. Even if I'm an easy person, I can't spare your life. Then, a divine light flashed in Yang Etian's eyes. Electric currents were weaving inside that divine light as they rapidly shot toward Shi Yan. 7-colored Nirvana light. Xia Qingho shouted, then said coldly. Yang Etian, you dare? Chapter 473, Imposing. Chapter 473, Imposing. Rumor said that Cao Qiudao, Yang Etian and Yang Tian Emperor had fallen into a space crack when they were young. There, they found the corpse of a god king. Cao Qiudao and Yang Tian Emperor had the essence blood of the god king, while Yang Etian had a beam of the god king's divine soul. The dead body of a god king had helped create the 3 peerless warriors of the Endless Sea. Cao Qiudao and Yang Etian had had their competences thrived massively, as they had the ability to provoke opponents who had higher realms than them. Yang Etian entered the second sky of Spirit Realm, and he also had fantastic advances in knowing several intimidating soul techniques. The 7-colored Nirvana light was one of the scary soul techniques that he had learned. This soul technique could perish someone's soul. Once it jumped into the other sea of consciousness, it could easily find the host's soul and use the Nirvana light to destroy it. Yang Etian had depended on the 7-colored Nirvana light to swagger in Endless Sea. So many warriors had their souls scattered because of this seven-colored nirvana light. It was the signature skill of Yang Etian. As Xia Qingho saw the light shoot out from the other's eye, he immediately got what the other wanted to do, projecting divine light from his eyes. Marvelous light beams, one blue and one purple, turned into two electric dragons tangling and wiggling with each other. They then spurted out two purple and blue light balls that vehemently shot towards the seven-colored nirvana light. In the seawater, the seven-colored light and the blue-purple dragons attacked each other, but no impact was generated. However, the faces of Yang Etian and Xia Qingho changed frequently. Strange light flashed unceasingly in their pupils, just like meteors showering inside their eyes. Xia Qingho used to enter the dark magnetic noxious mist. In the bog that Shi Yan found the king of demonic insects, he got the last crystal clear god soul bead. After years of living in isolation to perceive the subtle mysteries in the bead, he had broken through the second sky of spirit realm and also obtained some bizarre and unpredictable soul techniques. It could be said that both Yang Etian and Xia Qingho had a good grasp of soul techniques. They were both at the second sky of spirit realm and both borrowed external force and fortuitous encounters. Because of Shi Yan, the two of them, who were like water in the well and river which never met, started to join the competition on soul techniques. Nu Lang and Yin Hui, the two patriarchs of the sea tribes, were watching the two peak warriors of the endless sea using soul technique to fight against each other. They showed their interest with an attentive look on their faces. The two soul techniques were cast out, but they didn't shake anything as expected. The seawater was still calm. Even Yang Etian and Xia Qingho kept a calm complexion. However, deep inside their pupils, a bursting light was blooming, which shook people's hearts, dragging their souls in it. It seemed even to attract people's host souls, making it want to get out of the sea of consciousness. Only if they released their soul consciousness and attached it onto the fight could they know how miraculous this soul fight was. Otherwise, they would never know the subtle details of it. All of a sudden, light ceased in Yang Etian's and Xia Qingho's eyes. The divine light was retrieved. Xia Qingho let out a slight cough, and his face slightly changed. It seemed like he bore the disadvantage this time. He snorted, "Hall Master Yang, you're an overlord of an area. Even so, you use soul technique to attack Shi Yan without any prior warning. This deed doesn't seem good. An eye for an eye. It's right and unalterable." Yang Etian's brows slammed together. Situ Jie was the #1 consecrator of our martial spirit palace. He had contributed much to the martial spirit palace. He got killed, so of course I have to obtain justice for him. Zhongli Dun was the one we were nurturing for our future, and Shi Yan killed him too. If you were me, would you let it go? Well, although you guys want to kill him, do you think he would just hand over his neck like that? Xia Qingho sneered, looking at the group of Qingming and Gu Shao, speaking up with disdain. What a pity. 6 spirit realm warriors took action, but 2 of them got killed while the others had to run for their lives. Haven't you lost your face? Nu Lang and Yin Hui were watching the situation with joy. Precursor Yang, do you really think that you could kill me instantly using soul technique? At this moment, Shi Yan suddenly curled his lips, shook his head, and said coldly, "When I was in Barren City, Bowen did the same." Then, his soul consciousness was burned to ash. In front of the Silverstone Fort, Situ Jie and Zhou Yanfeng did the same. I think Precursor Yin Hui knows their results. Yang Etian's face darkened and couldn't help but look at Yin Hui. Nu Lang and Xia Qingho were surprised, also looking at him. I was staying in the dark to observe the battle in Barren City, and I didn't miss any small details of the battle in front of the Silverstone Fort. Under the attentive looks of the 3 great warriors, Yin Hui wore a solemn face and nodded affirmatively. Forgive my frankness, but any soul technique or soul consciousness that jumps into Shi Yan's sea of consciousness would disappear into thin air. Hall Master Yang, if you want to do that, haha, I think you will have to face the same consequence. Yang Etian's eyes flared up with cold light. Were Bao Wen and Situ Jie's levels able to be compared with mine? It wasn't that he didn't believe, but he had his arrogance. In such a vast sea like the Endless Sea, if one talked about the biggest achievement in understanding the souls, No doubt that it belonged to Yang Etian. He was the best in Endless Sea, and everybody acknowledged him. Bao Wen, Situ Jie, and Zhou Yanfeng were far behind compared to him. He believed in his cultivation base and his deep understanding of soul. Once he used his soul technique, whatever tricks Shi Yan had, he could hardly avoid death. If you don't believe me, just try. Shi Yan laughed, shaking his head. Anyway, if Precursor Yang's soul consciousness gets hurt, don't blame me that I didn't give you a warning beforehand. Arrogant. Yang Etian shouted. Don't. Xia Qingho hurriedly stopped them. It's okay. Shi Yan smiled to comfort them. Great-Grandpa Xia, don't worry. I have my plan. Haha, I do want to see if his soul technique could destroy the power of the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame or not. The 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame. Yang Etian, Nu Lang, Xia Qingho, and Yin Hui discolored on hearing that. Their eyes shot out a panic-stricken light. Yeah, it's the heaven flame that can burn all kinds of soul, the 9 Serenities devouring soul flame. Shi Yan curled his lips. Precursor Yang, do you want to try? Yang Etian discolored, standing dumbfounded without the intention to act recklessly. It was the name of the heaven flame which had been famous for thousands of years in the entire Endless Sea, even though each heaven flame had their own unpredictable miracle effects. The ice-cold flame was extremely cold. The Purgatory True Flame came from the Purgatory, which was the best fiery flame to forge weapons. The Vanishing Corpse Flame could control corpses and could even turn living humans into corpse slaves. The 9 Serenities devouring soul flame was the fiery flame that could destroy souls. It could burn down souls of all kinds of creatures, and even divine sense or thoughts. Many legends about the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame had soon been spread out all over the Endless Sea. This flame appeared in numerous rumors, but no one ever heard that it had a master. Due to its particularity, no warrior dared to let it stay inside his host's soul in the Sea of Consciousness. The heaven flame that could burn down the soul consciousness of the host's soul, how could someone get it integrated into his soul? But Shi Yan had claimed that he kept the 9 Serenities devouring soul flame in his Sea of Consciousness. Was it true? In legends, no one had ever broken the barrier. Did he really have such an eccentric change? Yang Etian didn't believe it, neither do Xia Qingho. But Nu Lang and Yin Hui believed him. Thousands of years had passed, and everyone who entered the lofty dragon graveyard had to die. But he came back alive. Moreover, he brought out with him a terrifying black iron puppet. If he could break one legend, it wouldn't be a surprise if he could break another one. Nu Lang and Yin Hui exchanged looks. Their faces were bizarre. Well, if you don't believe it, you can try. Shi Yan didn't exaggerate, just smiled. Currently, the Dark Dwellers and the Demon Dwellers are raging in the Endless Sea. I just don't want Precursor Yang get his soul hurt because of me. Honestly, I don't like Precursor Yang, but I know that keeping you safe is better for the whole picture of the Endless Sea. So, I want to remind you, don't take risks. Yang Etian's face darkened, but people couldn't see anything from his complexion. You can't kill me directly using soul technique. And with this black puppet here, you can't kill me physically. What is the use for to linger here? Shi Yan pitched his voice, smiled, and said calmly, the Endless Sea's really busy, you know? Yeah, forgive me if I can't see you off. I think we will meet again soon. At that time, I hope that Precursor Yang would be well prepared. Lifting his head, Shi Yan screamed again. Oh yeah, I killed Zhou Yanfeng too. He's the Chao's man. Perhaps you would want to visit Chao Qiudao too. Then, he squinted his eyes, looking at Chao Jilan on the sea surface, talking to her with a cold voice. Miss Chao, take care. Chao Jilan felt cold as if his cold voice had absorbed into her body and stiffened it. Shi Yan's performance had torn off all of her defenses. At this moment, she only felt helpless. She thought that they could kill Shi Yan instantly, but he had brought with him a terrifying black puppet from the lofty dragon graveyard. And now, he didn't show fear even on facing the peak warriors of the Endless Sea. Shi Yan's performance gave her an untrue feeling. She suddenly had a feeling that she had missed the chance which she would regret for the rest of her life. I hope that you could stay that complacent for a long time. Yang Tian restored his original calm countenance. He nodded at Shi Yan. It's true. You can see the endless seas situation now. For the time being, I won't interfere in your business. I think your existence could be one of our advantages too. Shi Yan frowned. The Kiara Sea is in the hands of the Dark Dwellers. I think it's time for the Yang family to think about how to take back your territory. Yang Tian squinted his eyes. I'm waiting for your good news. Then, he glared at Shi Yan one last time before flying up to the sea surface, gathering with Gu Zhao's group. Soon, those people disappeared from the seabed. On the seabed, only Shi Yan, Yin Hui, Nu Lang, and Xia Qinghe were left outside the lofty dragon graveyard. Chapter 474, Boldness. Chapter 474, Boldness. Nu Lang, Xia Qinghe, and Yin Hui were dumbstruck, eyeing Shi Yan and the War Devil. All of a sudden, their minds were filled with strange emotions. Shi Yan's growing speed was too amazing. No warrior in the Endless Sea could be like him, thriving to his current powerful realm in such a short time. A young Sky Realm warrior with extraordinary backup went beyond their imagination. At his Sky Realm, he could borrow external forces to compete against the Spirit Realm warriors. And now he had brought with him a War Devil from the lofty dragon graveyard. The power of a War Devil could be compared to a third sky of Spirit Realm warrior. Besides, he had the ice-cold flame, the earth flame, the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame, the king of demonic insects, and the devouring gold silkworm. Any of these on a typical warrior was enough to surprise people. But he had them all. Shi Yan, where is Yan? Xia Qinghe mused for a while and couldn't help but admire Shi Yan in his heart. But still, he asked the matter he worried about the most. Shi Yan's calm face changed when he heard the question. What happened? Xia Qinghe raised his eyebrow. She didn't come with you? I heard that she had visited the dark magnetic noxious mist, too. Didn't you say that you've come back from there? Did you meet her? People from the Pure Land took her to the Divine Great Land. Shi Yan calmly told them what Yi Changfeng told him. Pure Land. Xia Qinghe's face was cold as cold halo radiated from his eyes. They want to revive Yan's soul of the previous life. This means death to her. I'm not gonna allow it. The Pure Land's much stronger than the Endless Sea, Shi Yan sighed. As far as I've known, there are true God Realm warriors among the 7 old factions in the Divine Great Land. I have to admit that the Endless Sea's forces are 1 level lower than the Divine Great Lands. Although Yin Hui and Nu Lang were dwelling on the seabed under the Endless Sea, they knew something about the Divine Great Land. Hearing Shi Yan talking about the place, they all showed interest and listened to him seriously. Shi Yan didn't conceal anything, frowned, and said, Great-Grandpa Xia, don't worry too much about Yan. We always have solutions. Yan will be okay for the time being. After we're done with the stuff in Endless Sea, I'll go to the Divine Great Land and bring her back from the Pure Land. According to you, the Pure Land's one of the 7 ancient factions of the Divine Great Land, and they have true God Realm warriors. Do you really have any solution? Xia Qinghe wore a worried face, shaking his head. If we want her back, I have to go there. With only you, I'm afraid it would be difficult to make them nod their heads. I have my means. What? Shi Yan took a deep breath, looking at Xia Qinghe, then said, Great-Grandpa Xia, in the exotic land of the dark magnetic noxious mist, you got a crystal-clear bead of God's soul. I wonder if you've ever heard about the life original fluid. Xia Qinghe was surprised. Yin Hui and Nu Lang had their eyes brightened at the same time. I heard that the life original fluid's there, Xia Qinghe nodded. Seems like it's because of the life original fluid that the boy Yi Changfeng gave me the vein spirit pellet. Anyway, when I was there, I didn't see such a miraculous thing. Why you mention it? I have it. Xia Qinghe and the others were shaken. Their eyes brightened. I really have it here. Shi Yan smiled, looking at Yin Hui with guilt in his eyes. I hid the truth from you because I wasn't sure I could keep the life original fluid. Cough, don't say that I'm too cautious. You and Nu Lang are both peak warriors, and the life original fluid appears to be a big deal. I'm afraid you guys. Yin Hui forced a smile and nodded. I understand. Nu Lang's eyes were shining, eyeing him without blinking. You really have it. Yes. Nu Lang was so joyful he almost went crazy. Among the others, only he had broken through to the third sky of spirit realm, just one step away from the true God realm. At this moment, the only thing he needed was a drop of the life original fluid, which would enhance his guts entering the true God realm. It wasn't necessary to discuss the significance of the life original fluid to him. Once he entered the true God realm, Nu Lang would become the legend of thousands of years on the seabed. His future wouldn't be limited in the seabed of the endless sea, and his world would change accordingly. The true God realm was the realm of the genuine gods. The spirit realm was just the false gods' realm. They were definitely different, and the gap between them was hard to cross. Once he could pass over it, he would become God. But if he couldn't, he would just be a false god. Nu Lang's desire for the life original fluid was much bigger than that of having an area in the endless sea. Why did you decide to disclose it now? Yin Hui also had an excited face. Shi Yan, tell us what you want to exchange for the life original fluid. Do you really have it? Xia Qinghe was also stirred up. He was at the second sky of spirit realm, and soon he would reach Nu Lang's realm. With a drop of the life original fluid, he would have a more substantial chance to enter the true God realm. Thinking about this temptation, he couldn't hold it. The spirit realm warriors often would have lived for more than 100 years. Usually, they shouldn't be stirred up that easy. However, the life original fluid was a kind of treasure they had been yearning for so long. This made these old men unable to control their emotions. There's a reason for me to say so, Shi Yan smiled. Great-Grandpa Xia, with one drop of the life original fluid, I think it isn't hard to ask the people of the Pure Land to give back our people. Xia Qinghe nodded. The Pure Land's one of the 7 ancient factions of the Divine Great Land. Of course, they should have some warriors at the third sky of Spirit Realm. I think they know how precious a drop of the life original fluid is. Thus, don't worry. I said I would have plans to bring Xn Yen out of the Pure Land. Shi Yan comforted the old man. Wait until we're done with the stuff in Endless Sea. I'll visit the Divine Great Land. Just wait and see, I have my own means. Good boy. Xia Qinghe smiled with shining eyes. He nodded. Yang Tian Emperor does have good fortune. As for you guys. He wanted to say something to Nu Lang and Yin Hui, but he didn't finish it. Say it. Nu Lang was trying to press down his excitement and spoke up casually. As long as it doesn't require me to betray the sea tribes, anything can be negotiated. Of course I don't dare to force you to damage yourself or your reputation. Shi Yan was happy, but he was talking with solemn face. The Kiara Sea belongs to us. I want to take it back. Nu Lang relaxed his face. Yin Hui was bewildered for a while, then said, if it's the only request, no problem with our Silver Shark clan. Members of the Yang family are still in the demon area. My great-grandpa's doing well there. Perhaps he's seizing the chance to invade the demon area. For the time being, he won't be back in the Endless Sea. What? Nu Lang, Yin Hui, and Xia Qinghe stammered in fear. The news about Yang Tian Emperor had been confined in demon area had soon spread over the Endless Sea, but the news of his escape was totally hidden. That's why some members of the sea tribes dared to plan their wild schemes on Barren City. If they had known that Yang Tian Emperor had escaped from the Demon King's confinement, they would have never conspired against Barren City. As they heard the earth-shaking news from Shi Yan, Nu Lang, Yin Hui, and even Xia Qinghe were frightened. I'm sure this is real. Shi Yan smiled. Don't be startled. I think my great-grandpa has something he's arranged for the demon area. Currently, I can't borrow the force from the Yangs much. Anyway, with the help from the Black Flood Dragon clan and the Silver Shark clan, plus great-grandpa Xia. And yeah, perhaps I can also contact the Three God sect. With this combined force, I think it won't be tough to take back the Kiara Sea. Nu Lang and Yin Hui were surprised. Xia Qinghe shouted with low tone. You also have a connection with the Three God sect? Yeah, my relation with Tang Yuan Nam isn't bad. Also, I have some old origin shared with Ouyang Luo Shuang, Shi Yan nodded. With these relationships and the life original fluid, I think it shouldn't be hard to ask for using people of the Three Gods sect. Moreover, taking back the Kiara Sea also gives the Three Gods sect a position here. And in the future, I would pay back the favor by helping them deal with the demon dwellers in Yuan Luo Sea. Kid, not bad, Xia Qingho nodded continually. I won't ask you to do things for free, Shi Yan mused for a while, then his face stiffened. The dark water territories of fertile land. If you sea tribes help us after the endless sea is secured and the dark dwellers and the demon dwellers are killed, besides 2 drops of the life original fluid, I will offer you the dark water territory. Nu Lang and Yin Hui had their eyes brightened. Xia Qingho's face slightly changed as he frowned. Shi Yan. The dark water territory belongs to the Holy God sect, the Spirit Treasure Wonderland and the Heaven Lake Holy Land. These 3 forces have been battling against me. Yeah, they're weak though. In my eyes, they can't keep the dark water territory in the future. Shi Yan's face was dark and cold. They're unkind to me, so I won't be polite either. In the future, of course, the endless sea would have a great change. I can see the dark water become the sea tribe's territory. What do you think? He looked at Nu Lang and Yin Hui. Aren't you afraid that thousands of people would insult you? Nu Lang knitted his brows. Although some people from your human race have been cooperating with our sea tribes, until now, they don't allow us to get to the surface of the sea area. Thousands of years have passed by, and you guys have never allowed us to visit the blue ocean. If you do so, aren't you afraid that the warriors of the endless sea would unite and protest against you? They would say that you have united with alien tribes to deal with your own kind. Aren't you afraid of them? I think the ones who could scold me should have already visited hell by that time, Shi Yan smirked. Nu Lang, Yin Hui, and Xia Qingho gave him a deep look as they all sighed inside. This kid was vicious enough. Chapter 475, Final Decision. Chapter 475, Final Decision. Great-Grandpa Xia, you should be more open-minded. Shi Yan hesitated, then smiled. If the dark dwellers and the demon dwellers bury themselves in endless sea, the demon area and the underworld would become the places where no one lives. Haha. Losing the dark water territory, but earning the demon area and the underworld, you tell me, aren't there a little bit profits here? Xia Qingho was shaken, as a strange light shot out from his eyes. Kid, you're young, but you do have strong wild schemes. Cruel and merciless, such a character, Nu Lang took a deep breath. Your appetite's bigger than Chao Qiu Dao's and Yang Etian's. I didn't expect that you have dreamed about the demon area and the underworld too. Sigh, it's unbelievable that the Yang family has another freak like you besides Yang Tian Emperor. Although you sea tribes can leave the sea surface, it should be a bit difficult if you leave endless sea for a long time. Shi Yan smiled, his face deliberate. You shouldn't consider the demon area and the underworld. These places aren't suitable for your sea tribes to live. The seawater there is also different from the Grace mainland. Well, you're sure that our sea tribes can't earn a living in the demon area and the underworld, that's why you offer so. Yin Hui snorted with irritation. It's true, Shi Yan didn't deny. Nu Lang and Yin Hui fell into silence. Shi Yan wasn't hurried, smiled and waited for them calmly. I would agree with your conditions and help you take back the Kiara Sea. However, I want to see the life original fluid first. Nu Lang mused, wanting to confirm the fact that Shi Yan had the life original fluid. Yin Hui also showed his longing face. No problem, Shi Yan was frank and straightforward. He contacted the king of demonic insects in the blood vein ring, sending his thought. After the king of demonic insects got a drop of immortal blood from him, their relationship had become more harmonious. Having heard his call, it came out from the blood vein ring, opened its mouth and spurred out a crystal lotus throne. A bottle stood amid the crystal lotus throne, holding some sort of white liquid. Heartbeats reverberated clear and loud from this white substance. This bottle wasn't big, and Shi Yan took the chance to glare at it. He found that the bottle kept around 10 drops of life original fluid. Each drop had the heart shape with robust heartbeats sounding out. They were all radiating a milky white halo, which made them look like a strong, micro heart. Extremely marvelous. Divine light sparkled in Nu Lang's, Yin Hui's, and Xia Qingho's eyes as they were eyeing the bottle on the crystal lotus throne. As the three of them had spirit realm cultivation base, they had unique recognition of strange things. At first glance, they knew how miraculous the liquid inside the bottle was. Not bad. The rumor's true, Xia Qingho affirmed first, his face surprised and happy. Each drop of the life original fluid seems to have its own vitality. I can hear the vigorous heartbeats. From its look, I can tell it's the life original fluid. Yin Hui nodded continually. As you've said, it's the life original fluid. Shi Yan sent his thought again. The king of demonic insects opened its mouth, swallowed the crystal lotus throne, and disappeared into the blood vein ring. Shi Yan then looked at Nu Lang, smiled, and asked, "Precursor Nu Lang, do you have further doubts?" "All right," Nu Lang spoke up with a serious face. "I'm going back to the Black Flood Dragon clan and arrange things. As for the details, we need to talk and act together, okay? You can contact my big uncle Yangjua. I'll go to the sea surface and contact people from the Three God sect." Shi Yan smiled. "Don't worry. I'll have a sufficient force to annihilate the Dark Dwellers in a flash." "Right. I'll arrange the business of my clan and then find Yangjua," nodded Nu Lang. Yin Hui said the same. However, he was a little bit hesitant. "If the Water Scorpion tribe and the Naga tribe also want to join us, how about this life original fluid?" Shi Yan shook his head. "I didn't count them in this." Yin Hui frowned. "I don't want to waste it," Shi Yan considered. "On the seabed, the Black Flood Dragon clan and the Silver Shark clan are the strongest tribes, much stronger than the Water Scorpion tribe and the Naga tribe. With your help, the Xia family and the Three God sect, together with me and this black iron puppet, taking the Kiara Sea isn't a big deal. We don't need more people." "How about the Dark Water territory?" probed Yin Hui. "Wait until we finish the Kiara Sea's matter, then I will see if your sea tribes have good wills." Shi Yan was serious. "If you guys want the Dark Water territory, we will need forces in the future." "Yeah, the demon dwellers are in the Endless Sea too. It would be a conflict at that time. If you want to claim good things, you should think about the next steps." Nu Lang's and Yin Hui's eyes sparkled, their faces complicated. A while after that, Nu Lang nodded but didn't discuss anything else. He regarded Yin Hui, then they left together. "Shi Yan, your ambitious heart isn't small," Xia Qingho exclaimed after Nu Lang and Yin Hui had left. "In fact, I have no ambition," Shi Yan burst out laughing. "I just don't want to leave the ones who want to deal with me live with ease. No matter it's the Endless Sea, the demon area, or the underworld, I don't have the desire to take them. However, the Yang family has treated me well. I have plenty free time at this moment, so I should do something to repay their favors." "I heard that you came from the Quiet Cloud." "Yes," Shi Yan's eyes glittered, then slowly nodded. The reason why he wanted to stir the rain and the wind in Endless Sea was for the Yangs on one hand, and on the other hand, because of the guilt towards Shi Yan and the others in the Quiet Cloud. Since he had descended in the Grace mainland, the Shi family had considered him their successor. No matter it was Shi Jian, Shi Tai, or Shi Dang, they all took care of him, trusted him, and treated him like a member of their family. The Shi family dwelled in the Merchant Union. The warriors there were normal, and the aura of the earth and firmament wasn't as good as the Endless Sea. They didn't even have a spirit realm warrior. After he had seen the wealth of the Endless Sea and the peak prosperous time of the divine Great Land, he had determined that he should come up with the plan to bring the Shi family out of the Merchant Union of the Quiet Cloud and get them to the Endless Sea, or even the divine Great Land. He should find the best place for their cultivation. Only if the Endless Sea regained its peace and the Yang family held the absolute overlord position in Endless Sea, the Shi family could have no worries and move there from the Merchant Union. At that time, he could ease his mind and enter the divine Great Land to learn the peak knowledge from the true warriors of the Grace mainland. "Great-Grandpa Xia, do you want to visit Barren City?" "Oh, no." Xia Qingho contemplated for a while, then showed his worries. "I've just turned my back on Yang Etian. I'm afraid he would do something behind my back. I have to go back to control the situation. When you have everything planned, send someone to notify me. I'll know how to cooperate with you." The reincarnation island of the Xia families also in the Kiara Sea. I want to take it back soon. Alright, I'm going back to Baron City and talk to my big uncle. Keep in touch. Okay. Shi Yan bid farewell to the old man on the seabed. He then walked with his black iron puppet, leaving the graveyard and heading to Baron City. 7 days later, he got to Baron City, returning to the Yang family in the city. Since Yang Jue and the others knew that he would be going to the Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard, they couldn't help but worry about him. Now, as they saw him coming back, everybody was happy and surprised, chirping around him to ask about his experience of this trip. Shi Yan just smiled and didn't say anything. He waited until they finished and started. I'm okay, I got a war devil there. He pointed to the black iron puppet. War devil. Yang Jue and Zhang Mu frowned, looking at the black iron puppet. Really dangerous, eh? Yang Jue couldn't hold but ask. Shi Yan confirmed with a nod. Really dangerous. How dangerous is it? Li Feng raised her brows, giggling. He killed Situ Jia, Zhou Yufeng, and Zhong Lidun. Everybody was shaken, extremely frightened. No kidding. Yang Mu was panic-stricken. Shaking his head, Shi Yan smiled. No kidding. He paused for a while, then explained. If this war devil urges all of his strength, he would be able to confront Niu Lang directly. Won't be defeated, I guess. Everybody was dumbfounded on hearing him. On the seabed, Niu Lang was an invincible existence. Every single member of the sea tribes or human race knew how tremendous Niu Lang's power was. He was the best warrior who was acknowledged by everyone. And now, Shi Yan said that this black iron puppet had the ability to confront Niu Lang directly. Everybody thought he was crazy. Niu Lang and Yin Hui agreed to join hands with us and help us take back the Kiara Sea. Shi Yan threw them another bomb. Yang Jue and the other members of the Yang family all wore an extremely awkward face, gazing at him like they were looking at a monster. I'm not joking with you guys, Shi Yan said seriously, but Yang Jue and the others kept their dumbstruck complexion. Well, it happened like this. From their appearance, Shi Yan knew they couldn't accept the event. He had no choice but wear a forced smile and tell them in detail. After he had finished, Yang Jue and the others gradually restored themselves, believing in his words. We didn't expect that you could have the miraculous life original fluid from the dark magnetic noxious mist. Fella, you do have good fortune. Yang Mu exclaimed with an admiring face. No wonder why Niu Lang and the others were frank and straightforward. Seems it's mainly because of the life original fluid. Yang Jue shot right at the critical detail. Big uncle, you guys just stay on the seabed. The current situation will change soon. Don't worry. Shi Yan smiled. I'm going back to the sea surface to find Tang Yuan Nam of the Three God Sect. We have a good relationship. If he helps me now, we will repay his favor later. I think he won't deny me. With the forces from the Three God Sect, the Black Flood Dragon Clan, the Silver Shark Clan, and the Xia family, we can easily get back to the Kiara Sea. The Yangs was roused. Seems like you don't need your great-grandpa returning to Endless Sea to help us take back what belongs to us. Yang Jue smiled, patting Shi Yan's shoulder. Bringing you here from the quiet cloud was our best decision. You're truly the lucky charm of our Yang family. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.